because it's time. It's time. Yes, do up your flyers, gents and ladies.
Look at everybody.
Oh, I just undid mine. Get comfy, baby. Get comfy.
Oh, Rabbi.
We're on, we're out and about, and we're back, and heaven knows what's happened in the last 48 hours, so why not talk about more Doctor Who, eh, Charlotte?
I have no idea what's happened in the last 25 hours. I literally just came back from synagogue, right? And I sat down, and I haven't even looked at the news yet, nothing.
Russell T. Davies announced Series 5 and 6 of Torchwood, which will start...
They had 5 and 6, didn't they? Wait. They had Children of Earth, and the one where the one in America just went on for 10 episodes too long.
Yeah,
it was 10 episodes too long.
And Rabbi Chris Chibnall has come back as script editor just for this occasion.
Well, there you go. Nothing can go wrong now.
What could be the worst that could happen? We've managed to wrangle Ian Diaz back as well to talk Doctor Who when he said he was done, but he's back anyway. And I like how you give the Star Trek salute there.
Exactly.
Live long and prosper.
He's here for the eulogy.
Well, yeah. I have to stand up and say something about how good Doctor Who was until it died. Yeah,
it's more like Ian. How's your week been, mate? Are you aware of what's going on in Doctor Who? Because the rest of the world seems to have made its way to the mainstream media for all the wrong reasons again.
Kind of. I mean, I listen to you guys a lot, and I listen to Gary, his take on stuff, and other people that I've spoke to personally.
Listen to Gary. He's a very wise man. Very wise.
But you know what? Really, I really don't care anymore. Doctor Who's been dead since Bacaldi left. You know, for me anyway. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm honestly, life is much better now it's gone. I like that we don't. It's like it was like watching somebody like having performing necrophilia on a corpse of a loved one. Right, the last 9 years, it was just awful to watch, and I'm just glad. Like, what, you don't want to see more? No, actually, I don't. I'm fine, actually. Right. Really, I like. My thumbnail for tomorrow has Russ T. Davis and Jodie standing next to each other, right? And Russ is saying, "I failed in every way," but Jodie says, "But you succeeded in making something worse than what we did, so that's something."
Vindication in one way for him, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's enough to make you a little bit bilious and to experience somewhat of a build-up. And when I feel any sort of sensation like that rumbling from within, I head to the little boy's room, and in this instance, I got the perfect one. Of course, in the middle of the summer, it's in the great outdoors there, Ian. You're just in the beer garden there at the warmly waiting room at Bristol and Bath Railway Path. They've got their own police box there, well stocked with plenty of lavatory roll, so you can tell this wasn't taken during the pandemic. And even for the little ones, there's somewhere to step up to there. So if Warwick Davies pops in, he can still have a squirt.
That's very considerate.
Yeah. That's pretty good. Yes, that's where I'll be heading off to later on. In between talks about Russell T. Davies and various other things that are hard to keep down. Is I think what I'm saying. But before we move on, before we get too far into it, I better remember now. This is the part where I do this. Yeah, we're back to have our brains drained as well as the main vein here on Type 40. We've got a panel. We've gathered a panel together, and there are more on the way too. There's a live chat, people watching on YouTube and Rumble. I'd imagine they've got a lot to say as well, because we were on the other night, weren't we, Charlotte? It was a very in-depth conversation that we had. I mean, whether it was analytical or not, it's probably not for us to say. But I don't know if you felt...
We covered a lot of ground, though. I think that was really good about it. We covered like the announcement, Russell stuff, sort of where we all were, and sort of how we think possibly the show could carry on. So I think it covered a lot of ground. Which is
I did a 2-hour stream on Thursday, and I covered about 15 to 20% of the stuff I had prepared. There's so much to go through.
You've still got people defending it, though, haven't they? I mean, I put something up on
They're not
galaxy.
defending it; they're defending themselves, right?
No,
That's
well,
what it is.
There's a
there
few
are people.
the rabbis,
Yeah,
right,
exactly. There are people that are going, yeah, but you know, like if you mention the ratings, they've got some answer for that. If you mention how woke it is, they got some answer
Oh,
for
fuck
that.
them! It's cancelled. It was cancelled. What? How are you going to get over that, you fucking fucktards? Like, what? Like, really?
Well,
It's doing fabulous. Everybody loves it. No, they don't. They all fucking hated it.
I think the answer to it is not to answer them, because I've got a lot of abuse since I put those things up. So I just don't answer them, and they just go mental. So just let them go mental.
I don't know what you put up, baby, but
in this instance, Ian and Charlotte spoke a little bit about this on Thursday, is that people are feeling this on all sorts of levels, which they're probably not used to processing on a kind of emotional level. And depending, I mean, Charlotte is mature enough and has got a command of vocabulary enough and a connection with us that's deep enough that she can be honest with us and talk about it. But there's people who are either literal children or emotional children who use these social media platforms in particular, who simply can't. They don't know how to communicate the things that they're feeling. And whilst I'm not excusing bad behaviour, they're kind of lashing out because they've never felt this before. They didn't ever think the series would go away.
And I think some of it is they've been fed on this line for so long that basically Doctor Who's never going away. Like the tone of the people involved making it, the sort of the press surrounding Doctor Who. Even when you had all the evidence, like you said about the ratings and everything else going on, it was still this sort of this front of no, but Doctor Who's brilliant, Doctor Who's doing fine, Doctor Who's best it's ever been sort of mentality. So when you get fed that constantly, then when reality hits, and that's what's happened the last couple of days, you can't process it because you've basically been told one thing which is so different to the actual reality of the situation. I think a lot of that is what's been happening a bit in the fandom. Honestly,
can I ask a question to Dan? Right. So let me get one thing. Let me try and get a few things straight because I haven't really been caught up with this nonsense. So all that stuff about nobody wanting to play a doctor, that was all a lie, was it? Yeah. And all the stuff. So according to me and you, our friend Lee Probby, he said that immediately when they finished Ncuti Gatwa's run, they knew it was done from that point on. Everything else is just rubbish that came after it. Is that true? Do you think?
Not strictly speaking,
we don't
true.
know, really. I mean, like there was certainly lying going on about something, but we have no idea. I think they thought they could pull it together, right? That's what I think they thought they could pull it all together, and they'll be able to pull a rabbit out the hat, and they were
right.
I think
Rabbi, we've published. I know you've gone in depth on your channel, the Rabbi from Another Planet. Everybody, if you don't know, you've gone into great depth covering this multiple times per week. And here on Type 40, we've presented a number of in-depth reports. So there's things. Obviously, when I was putting all that together, there's things that I know about what has gone on that I simply can't report on, that I can't speak about because of various factors. But it is very involved. And to the man or the woman in the street, the average punter, the average viewer, like this, they don't really care about all that sort of stuff. They watch the telly, and what's on the telly tonight, love? Oh, is it? Doctor Who? That hasn't been on for a while. That kind of thing. People sort of miss it eventually. It's that kind of thing. They don't ask the questions about the production, about the comings and goings of producers and shooting schedules and all this sort of thing. Something is either active and it's a show that exists and it's on the TV and it matters, it's relevant, or it's axed, it's cancelled, it's gone away for that little bit too long, and then it becomes, oh, do you remember that show? Do you remember that thing? But with Doctor Who, Ian, it's got this, because of the cultural institution angle, whereby even if people don't watch it, they know what it is. But people above a certain age do. Then I think it's different, and so that's why most people have an opinion about it, even if they may not have necessarily ever watched it. Never mind having watched it recently.
I do suspect, though, that Doctor Who is done, totally done, and it's not going to come back. I'll tell you why, okay? The viewing habits of young people have changed immensely. Now, I'll just give you an example, okay? This really speaks volumes. There was this video on YouTube, and I was interviewing Gen Z? You know, the Gen Z, right? Gen Z kids. And one woman said, no, I don't watch. One young woman said, "Oh no, I don't watch TV. I basically watch TikTok." And she goes,
Yeah.
"I've been watching clips from Severance." She goes, "And I feel I've seen it." So if you take that as a context of how they're watching, that's how they're watching shows. They're not going to the source. They're just watching clips on YouTube, shorts and TikTok, and that's how they're getting fulfilled. And it's crazy.
What's that?
That's crazy, right?
Rabbi,
if that's the future.
I said what? Sorry.
Well, the rabbi talks about TikTok quite a lot as being not just as being dominant, but as being a feasible delivery method for story, don't you?
Yeah, no, I think they should be doing too. I think they should make a normal TV show like that for people to watch. But I think they should make like 2-minute episodes that are designed specifically for TikToks and social media, right? And that would bring, instead of like dumbing the show down and making a TikTok version, which is one of the many mistakes they made. They should make a TikTok version like they used to do it. The TARDISodes,
okay, let me.
Yeah.
Okay, let me explain why that won't work. So this girl said that she watched highlights from Severance, okay, and now she feels like she's seen Severance. If you look at TikTok and you look at the shorts, all they're showing you is the emotional beats of what's happening. If you made a short, from and it had a little story within TikTok, it doesn't work. All they're interested in is leaping over what you have to do to get to that emotional impact.
I still think you could write it.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So they won't. They won't. If you start,
I understand what I'm saying, but I recently watched season 3 of Euphoria, which I had no interest in watching. Right, I got HBO Max, and they kept begging me to watch it. I'm like, well, Sydney Sweeney's doing an OnlyFans on it. Maybe I'll give it a go. I don't know. Right. So I watched it, and I was amazed that it's like incredibly high quality television. Like,
yeah, but hold on. Right, Rabbi, wait. No, my point is that we, as 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds, we have the patience to do that. So we see a clip on TikTok, and we go, "Oh, that sounds really good," and we go back to the source, and then we watch it. But they won't go back to the source. All they're interested in is eating the cake instead of making the cake, or having the patience. Hold on, stop. To have the patience to watch it from A, B, C, right down to Z. They don't have the patience to. That's why it won't work if you had a short.
So they won't.
In my opinion,
with a story in for long enough to listen to the exposition or character building. They want the hits of the raw emotions.
Yes.
Oh God.
Yeah.
But they tried that.
It's right. It's 100% correct. However, I am convinced. Right, there is a way. Like, remember the newspaper strips? They used to have you about 4 or 5 panels every day, and they'll take you about.
George and Lynn,
same sort of thing, right?
George and Lynn.
But they tried that. Ian may remember the name of the series. I don't. But like back towards the beginning of the pandemic, they had this. It was like for a streaming platform. It was like short, little 5 to 10 minute episodes. Kiefer Sutherland was in. It was kind of like a 24-esque type of thing,
right?
And it was on one of the streaming channels, and it was designed and constructed to be done in those short bursts, and it was kind of like 24 with Kiefer Sutherland.
Yeah. I know. Look,
and also, that would probably work now.
I think.
Yeah, but remember, Rabbi, they had a whole. These millionaires got together and they made this whole channel to make short films like TikTok, and it failed abysmally.
Yeah,
remember they did that.
Okay. So you need somebody who came up in that environment, right? You need somebody. You need a generation who learned. Watching stuff, via TikTok to write for that platform, because they're native to it and they understand it, right? The trouble is, it's all old people trying to make stuff for TikTok. Do you remember that's
not true. That's not true.
Remember that thing the song they had on the Awful Beatles episode? There's only always a twist at the end. And there's never been a twist at the end of Doctor Who. I don't know what the fucking going on. Right? Never ever. There's always a twist at no, that's never.
There wasn't.
Happened. That was made specifically for TikTok, right? That was made to get eyes on them, and it was made by an old, out of touch person who has no idea what he's bloody doing.
But how about this? Because I actually think that all the limitations that of programming for TikTok that Ian's bringing up, I think is dead on. But I don't know if any show, Doctor Who or whatever, who targets that bit of the audience is going to, succeed anyway. So why don't they just, if they're interested in capturing that audience, why can't they just at whatever point, 2030, 2032, whatever, when it comes back, make the show for the BBC, for the family audience, none of the agenda garbage, but then do like an alternate almost version of each episode specifically for the TikTok audience, almost, see what I mean? It's like do the regular show, but then do kind of like an edited, remastered. But I mean, at least it'll focus on that.
Because you distract people away from the main show. And I think that's
look. I think we've got a bigger problem than Doctor Who when it comes to entertainment on TV and your phone and whatever, computers, whatever. The big problem is this next generation. We're going to die off soon, right? Maybe not Charlotte, but we are. Right, but the next generation, they don't have the patience to watch a show, a movie, unless it's a horror film, because they seem to be driving towards horror and stuff like that. But to have an ordinary TV show, they don't have the patience to watch it from the start to the end. All they want to see is the emotional beats. That's all they want. They want their cake and eat it. That's all I'm saying. I think that's where it's going.
Euphoria is indicative because they're the audience.
Maybe, I don't know.
Young audience for it, and they watch it and they like it.
All this talk of cake. All this talk of cake and TikTok and all, it's already so challenging. It's enough to make me lose my marbles. Let's start the show proper and bring on our final guest. So there's a lot more to talk about, and we'll say hello to everybody who's watching right after we've had a bit of a chuckle with a white pill here.
The Vulgatron particle readings are off the chart. There's about to be a tear in the space-time continuum. What the? There's no time. I've come from the future to warn you. Well, me. To get out while you still can. The upcoming series of Doctor Who gets even more complicated. How is that even possible? I jump across my own potential future time streams, vaporize my parents before I'm even born, and get scattered across the meta-galaxy, while the TARDIS disappears up its own neutron flow. That's incomprehensible. Quick, hold on to this time ring. Where are we? We've travelled way back in time to when the series was much simpler and cheaper.
You will be exterminated!
It's an upside-down bin with some tennis balls stuck to it. Exactly. And it's much easier to defeat by reversing the polarity, using a reality manipulator to harness the power of the Hand of Rassilon. No! By hitting it with a stick. See, things were so much simpler on a measly 1970s BBC budget. Hang on. BBC? 1970s? We're next door to the top of the pop studio. Let's get out of here. We can quantum time leap streams in the confusing past-future chronometrics. That's so complicated. Exactly. It's perfect.
Room for some extra Type 40, I think, video exclusive content with me, Dan Hadley, Birmingham's King of the Geeks. Welcome back there on YouTube and on Rumble. We have lots to talk about, lots of people to say hello to, as ever. Type 40 Extra is our after show. For those who don't know, it's also a before show and an in-between show too, companion to the live streams, the podcasts, and everything else that we publish. We've got a panel, a specially invited panel, to join us and to join you, whoever you may be, to scroll the view screen for everything that's been going on in the last few days. So I know what you're wondering. Who is calling this time? Who's on the blow this time, Handles? Well, we've got a panel right here, right now. People, our friends, old and new, from across content creation and the Doctor Who fandom. So who's here? Who's here? Yes, hello everybody. Hello. We've got Gary
Russell
Akers
T.
here, the Retro Doc.
Don't do that to me, bullshit.
Rabbi from another planet here to YouTube, HooTube legend himself, Ian David Diaz, the mega geek, the man, the myth, the legend behind Rebecca Gold and the Killing Zone and various other things. we've got our very own Queen Charlotte Shields too. She's thinking, what on earth have I got myself into? And last, but by no means least, it's Russell T. Bolstrek here. The man, the boss.
Hello.
Is here. Hello, mate. Glad you. I didn't expect we'd see you for a little while. Hello. Have you been, Chris? It's been an interesting week, hasn't it? It's been a very interesting week.
Well, as you all know, I had previously said I would never again take part in a Doctor Who live stream as long as I live. But here's my excuse. I'm just looking at this as kind of our regular show because we do a normal show really on Saturdays. Well, but also, this is a time for celebration. And I am going to say it again. I told you so. You called me names. I told you so again. You called me even more names. I was right. This is a happy time. The filth is being expelled back into hell where it came from. And I'm hoping that nobody's phone is about to die and they can't find a phone charger this time, which I believe is what happened the last time I joined a Doctor Who live stream. And I know a lot of people in the chat will just love me because, I really don't care. Say what you want.
You're amongst friends.
Exactly. So I'm here for celebration, and to enhance the celebration, I have taken on the visage of a certain degenerate freak who shall remain nameless. We don't know who that is. This person may have been somebody who, brought something back from the dead 21 years ago, and then defiled it in ways which history will never fully comprehend because it boggles the mind. But this is a very, very angry man. I'm an angry man, but you know what? I feel I've accepted my anger. I am anger. I am my anger. No, I am anger. I'm Generation X. We don't care. We don't care about your feelings. Well, cry, bitches. Cry. Cry harder. I don't care. Oh, and Stephen, no, Frank is not going to be here this week because Frank is on the other show. Yes. Frank is still having trouble with pigs on the farm. They're not happy with him, but we'll learn more about that next week. That's not for this show.
Well, Chris, you may find this strange to believe. You may be unaccustomed to this, but you are far, far from the only angry man this week throughout Doctor Who fandom. Universal condemnation of that gentleman you're speaking about in particular. I've never seen anything quite like this, and fandom quite this united, probably since the lockdowns, since the watch-alongs. This guy is again, right? I don't co-sign on any kind of harassment in any way, but in many respects, as regards the Doctor Who fandom right now, Russell T Davies could be seen as public enemy number one. Mm-hmm.
Well,
as it should be.
His new show, Tiptoe, ended up with a bunch of people who aren't on board for Drag Queen Story Hour lynching a gay guy, right? In the middle of the street. That's really what he thinks. He's completely freaking insane.
He lost the plot completely.
He is completely bonkers.
The watch-alongs, we weren't even unified because if you remember, a bunch of us were blocked from participating for having the wrong opinions.
Now.
I think it's funny, but I will declare myself the original angry person because I have been angry. Well, I've always been angry, but I've been angry about this particular thing since July 2017. So I'm
quite surprised you still have a voice, Chris.
It's been a long time.
You still have a voice.
Ian, I have not. With Dan, I was explaining earlier, I was going to be late because I've been working on my video. And to get myself in the mood, I've been blaring Rammstein in the background because it just seemed fitting. I've been banging out my script for the last little bit. It is not done. I'm still working on the script. It has been through a few edits because an earlier version of the script probably would have gotten me banned from YouTube. And considering, my channel's 19 years old, I'd rather not get it banned because my channel is in September will be legal age to drink in Canada. So I decided to tone it down a little bit and remove some of the, shall we say, inflammatory language. I'll be using it. But my response, the one that I have been waiting 9 years to give, should be published tomorrow. I may not be on the Spacebook podcast the next Saturday because it's likely that I won't have a voice. Yes, then my voice will be gone. Oh, and hi, Charlotte. We haven't seen each other like forever.
It's lovely to be on with you, Bowles, and a few other people that I haven't for a while.
Charlotte, you need to join our regular show on Saturdays where we talk about fun things that aren't this show.
What's
Think about it, Chris.
Look, folks, behind the scenes, they promised that they were going to be well behaved because I came on tonight. So let's see what happens.
Yes. I didn't promise.
Nice.
So,
no, you weren't there, Chris. To be fair, so you've got an out.
Just for those who
Listen,
are
I haven't
this is all...
once. I'm doing good.
Well, just for those who may be wondering, if you've missed something, this is all in the wake. It's looking up from the crater, really, of this update on the future of Doctor Who that was published by the BBC the other day. And so we came on and we did our usual Type 40 live stream on Thursday, and that was great fun. We went into it all in depth, but there's lots that we didn't cover. And more to the point, there were lots of comments that we didn't really have the time to take. And I know that we've got a chat full of people already, and I felt really bad about it that we didn't get around to as much as I wanted to. So this is an ideal point to do a bit of an after show to connect with our friends in the community, some of our oldest friends and most loyal supporters, and see where everybody is at with it, including this guy.
Oh my God, I'm a big fan. Thank you.
All right, good to see you.
Come on, man. Nice to meet you, mate.
All the best. Take care.
That's Doctor Who. I just met Doctor Who. Stop playing with me, bro. This is the type of places we be at. We meet Doctor Who. What are you doing?
What are we doing? We're back on YouTube and Rumble.
Dr. What?
And we're joined by lots of friends here in the live chat, including Farsight Ian. He's joined in. He was here this morning. Says good morning. We've got a good afternoon there from Randy Howell. So we're time traveling right now as we look through all this stuff. Lance is here as well with good morning, afternoon, and evening. So he's in 3 time zones at once, and we've got some moderators in too as well. So before I forget, thank you, Lord Thoth, for helping, not just the other night on that show, because I know it was a big show. There's a lot of people, hundreds and hundreds of people there. All those comments. Thank you to all our moderators. You know who you are. Everybody with a little black wrench there in the live chat. We couldn't do this without you. Thank you so much. Woodhouse 122's there as well, says evening all. We've got Graham's here too. Hi, Graham. Good to see you. Funky has rolled in and clocked in, I should say. Hi, all. 07. 007. 007? Is that a Bond thing, Ian?
Maybe.
No, that's an emoji. That's like a.
Oh.
I think that's like a like half smile emoji or a. Charlotte, you speak emoji. You understand? What's
I think it's meant to be like a smile, like an upturned little smile.
Yeah, there you go. I think that's correct.
I have to rely on Charlotte to translate all of David Milling's sporting terms.
Yes, that is my other job.
I just look at her and go, please. Well,
David Milling will probably be in the chat giving us FIFA updates.
Yeah, I think he's on the tennises right now. Stephen's into Stephen Braddock. Type 40 back on Saturday Live. Who cares about Russell T Davies or New Who and a big old heart? So Stephen's already in a better place. But I think obviously some people are gonna feel very, very differently about it. And I don't think there's going to be any hard or fast rules as to how. If you're like Chris, you may be really, really angry about it, or you may feel the relief that the rabbi. You talked a bit about. You feel relieved by this. I don't think you're
I'm just naturally angry, dude.
I'm kind of reminded of this Judge Dredd strip where they had this fungus that was attacking Mega City 1 and everyone was scratching. And I remember one guy climbs into a garbage masher and he goes, "Oh, sweet relief." That's how I feel, right? That's exactly how I feel. Like, thank God we don't have to watch. I mean, really, I'm not going to have to watch. What was up with that Jodie one with the? What was it? The Finger Willie was a villain. They kept putting fingers into
They brought the Guardians back for it. It was the Guardians. I can't remember what it was called.
It was the Guardians?
I don't think I saw that one.
He stuck his finger in your ear.
No, his fingers. Remember, the fingers.
Wet Willie.
Yeah,
Wet Willie.
Dan.
Wet Willie.
Dan, the fingers literally
that was a
came
mental
off.
health one.
Oh yeah,
It
his fingers
was.
detached, and he could like stick them up your nose or do whatever.
Yeah, we'll never have to see that again. Thank God.
I'd forgotten all about it. I'd completely forgotten about it. Randy Howell is in the live chat there. It says the Turdis. And Woodhouse 122 echoes a lot of people's sentiments. Gary, we saw some of this the other night. In late 89, I was gutted that the show was cancelled, whereas in 2026, I couldn't care less. There was a lot of people talking about 1989 and the symmetry, the similarity between statements put out by Peter Green in particular directly after that, and the nonsense that was put out by the BBC the other day. Well, the corporate line, I suppose, that how similar it was, and yet the vibe couldn't be more different.
Oh, this is nothing like 89.
Between that final scene, Chris, in 89, which is a dignified departure compared to a show screaming and begging for its life this time last year.
That end in 89 was almost poetic. I mean, you look at that, considering that last little speech was just kind of written on the fly. I mean, it's poetry almost. And, you know, let's bear in mind the show was not officially canceled in 1989. There was never an official statement which saying it was canceled. It just kind of ended. This is, you know, what it is, but the show was in a much better place, I think, with regard to what the public thought about it in 89. I mean, the show was on the uptick. Whether or not what you think about the McCoy era, you know, I know, like, for example, Ian doesn't like
the general public were largely indifferent to it in Britain by that point, Gary.
But not
kind of
but there wasn't this active, visceral disdain over a long period of time where, like the rabbi just said, you know, people just couldn't wait for the pain to be over. That wasn't the case in 89.
Yeah,
it was 89 and 88 were two of the best seasons they've had in about a decade.
I would agree.
It's been car crash TV for a number of years, and you think, oh God, are they going to stay upright? Is this going to stay in production? Surely not. And you wonder who could possibly make TV this bad that costs so much, Chris. That's another big difference between then and now. But obviously the way that the fans feel is going to be the same to some degree because no show is no show, I suppose.
Well, do you know what, guys? You know what? Sorry, Chris, to cut you off.
Oh, no worries.
Do you know what? I think, right, that I don't think Doctor Who's going to come back, tell you the truth. And I'm sad about that. And if it does come back, the question you have to ask yourself is, because the BBC still owns the copyright, is it going to be any better than what they gave us? Now, I feel sad that it's ended that way with the, what's her name, Billy Piper going, oh, hello, and all the nonsense that happened. I've never seen a single episode of the Silly Gatwick episodes. I've never seen it, but I've seen clips on YouTube, and I know how bad it is. I just think that if it's going to come back, it's got to literally get rid of all that stuff and make it better again. But I don't think that's going to happen if the BBC is like the way it is now and still in charge. And that, to me, is sad. That's a hollow victory. The way Chris was saying, no, you know, they're not going to come back. It's a celebration, but it's a hollow victory because we're not going to get any more Doctor Who. So it kind of, I don't know. What do you think, guys? I don't know.
I would. Oh, go ahead, Charlotte.
No, I was going to say, I think the slight difference here is that they've had to sort of admit defeat without saying those words precisely.
Yeah.
But to say you're going to do a special and then to have to publicly come out and say, we're scrapping it. That is quite a big thing, to sort of say you're going to do this thing and then to have to basically go back on your own words and then in your own press release basically almost say the special wouldn't fix anything. Like, So this tone, I think, are very different. And it is, as much as I think we're ever going to have the BBC sort of admit here, we've got this wrong. They'll never say that precise word, but you can say it without saying it. And I think they've sort of done a bit of that with some of these statements.
I will say
they care. Sorry, go ahead, Chris.
I think they've got what some would call egg on their face, to put it mildly, or as somebody who was there in 1989, this is completely different. The spin is similar. And in North America, we didn't actually know that the show was done until 1991 because there was no internet back then. We just know that we would usually get the most recent season on PBS near the end of the year, and we did not get one for 1990 season. And from what I remember, we found out, I'm pretty sure it was in Starlog in late 91, so 2 years after the fact, that the show had been canceled or put on hiatus. But this is completely different. In 1989, season 26, and this is my opinion, and people have heard this opinion before, it hasn't really changed. The show went out on a high. I think season 26 was one of the best of the entire original run. I think it is a shame that we didn't get to see where that was going because they were doing something interesting. There was no season 24, 1987 was a complete disaster, but unlike current times, the show directed course the next year, and Andrew Cartnell was basically showrunner by that point. And a lot of what we saw was him. But in terms of the fan base, most of us were quite disappointed when we saw that it was canceled, especially thinking where it was going to go. We spent the better part of originally 7 years hoping for it to come back. We got the 96 special, which was handled terribly because Fox, in all their infinite wisdom, decided to put it up against Roseanne, which was the Dan has a heart attack episode. So it got destroyed in the ratings. Even I didn't watch it live. I taped it. And then we waited another 9 years for the show to come back. The fan base didn't die. They're outside of some distaste for season 26 or season 24. There was no animosity on part of the fans towards the show. A lot of people had grown out of it. It had made some mistakes, but by season 26, the handful of us that were still watching loved this show. And I think a lot of people regretted stepping away from it when it finally got canceled. We spent those 16 years between 89 and 2005, bar the 96 movie, waiting and hoping for the show to come back, being very disappointed when Fox did not pick up the McGann season, because I think he would have been a brilliant doctor. I don't know the rest of the show. Also filmed in my home country of Canada. That movie was filmed in Vancouver. But there was a lot of love for the show. You had Big Finish, which I have a few things to say about, but I'm not going to, I would be going on for about 6 hours as to what they turned into. But you had Big Finish starting in 1999, which was the only real Doctor Who we had. You had the books. There was love of the series. We were revisiting the original series. We wanted to see it come back. Like, there was a lot of love for this show when it left in 89. And I can say this because I'm old and I was there. I'm not a fan of the new series. I am a fan of the original series. The first Doctor, my real first Doctor was Peter Davison, but my earliest memory is watching Tom Baker. That's how far back I personally go with the show, and I know I've told that story before. Here, it's completely different. You have a show that didn't have just one bad season. It had 8 years. And I'm not going to swear on this show because this isn't our regular show, so I will just avoid using
the
potty
already
mouth.
has. I think we're fine.
I'll take care of it for you. Don't worry. I'm all over.
Okay, I will say it once. We've had 8 years of complete shit. And I know this because I've covered it in detail. I know David hasn't watched it. I suffered through all of this, and I was making review videos through all this, and you all know how many times I watch this trash per episode to make the videos. I know how bad it's gotten, better than most people. This show is hated. This show is a complete joke. There's also permanent, irreparable damage done to the fan base, which was not a thing in 1989.
That's true.
I've said that there are two major problems with this show. One is the show itself, what we've seen done to it, really starting with Capaldi's second season, but accelerating when Whittaker was cast. The show itself has been awful. It's shown nothing but contempt for the fans, especially fans of the classic series. Those of us that, like, I've spent thousands of dollars on this show. I've made them thousands of dollars because in the early days on my YouTube channel, I used to have Amazon affiliate links for their DVD collections. And I removed all those years ago because I don't want to make a cent of money off this, but I know for a fact I made them a lot of money personally. It's not just the show itself, it's the elitist fan base. And I've clarified this before. I've been a part of internet fandom going back to the beginning of the internet, and every science fiction franchise I've been highly involved in internet fandom. None of them even come close to the toxicity and elitism of the Doctor Who fan base. And this was always a thing, but we were willing to forgive it until 2018 when it got really bad. Doctor Who is the only franchise I know where it has its chosen approved fans. And I would say they're mostly a bunch of spoiled upper middle class British twits. And we've
say
seen them
that
all.
about us. What's going on?
Okay, Ian is your stereotypical Doctor Who fan. He's the elitist. He loves what happened. No, we saw this with the new series where if you did the chosen narrative, and it started with Whittaker, is if you are not on board with this 100%, you are excommunicated. There's a little forum, which I will not mention by name, which was one of the worst perpetrators of this, where if you were not on board with this, you were excommunicated from fandom. Now, by the end, they had excommunicated 95% of their fandom, and all they had left were a handful of these smelly, degenerate twits who fail in life and base their entire identity around a failing show because they have nothing else. And the best that they can hope for is bringing tea to much more successful people than they are. How does it feel, folks? You're done. You based everything around a failing show. It's over.
The narrative going on now amongst that type of fan is it's because they didn't succeed in driving out all people like us from fandom.
We couldn't be exercised, Rabbi. We couldn't.
Yeah, that's it. It's all because our toxicity leaked through to the viewing public, and they said, "Oh, we don't want to watch this." That's literally the narrative they're going with right now.
I will tell you right now, this show will never again be popular in North America. It's a very different culture over here. And there was a special disdain for the US, but I'm Canadian, even though, the creator of the show was a Canadian, but they refused to acknowledge that. But no, it's a very different culture over here than it is in the UK, and Canada and the US are very similar, even though we will not admit it. Once you've fallen out of favor here, you ain't never coming back. And there was a little episode called Arachnids in the UK, which was basically a hate episode to Americans. That's where you lost them. If you think the ratings were bad in the UK, over here, I think they were in the 4 digits near the end, at least in my country. Nobody was watching. It's never coming back.
When that episode aired, I think I'd been doing the Type 40 podcast for about 8 months, and we'd been gearing up. We'd done a series of shows, myself and Norm and Kyle, the original co-creators and co-hosts of the podcast. This was before it was on YouTube as well. And we'd had a series of people come on booked in advance to do those reviews of that first Jodie season with us. And it just so happened that for Arachnids in the UK, the 2 gentlemen who were our guests were 2 American podcast hosts, at the time, very successful podcasters. They've been doing it a long, long time, a really long-running show. So they came on, 2 American guys, and they just watched it a couple of hours before, and so had myself and Norm, I think it was, on that show. And they were, and bear in mind, these 2 guys are liberals as well, and they were devastated by Arachnids in the UK. They felt it was a personal attack on their country, on their national identity. And even though they didn't subscribe to the brand of politics that was being pointed at in that, they did feel that it was a condemnation on Americans collectively. It had been written that poorly. And of course, that was just the beginning, because it ended up just a few weeks later, there's a whole episode basically painting single dads out in a bad light. And then there was this person and that group, and it just went on and went on and went on. putting people's backs up, and if the quality of the show had at least have been good, I mean, it looked pretty in some respects. But apart from that, it didn't feel like Doctor Who. And I think the cool and driest comment here in the live chat, in some ways, I do think it is this clean. The simple truth is it stopped being Doctor Who in terms of integrity, Rabbi, in terms of the true message of the show and where its component parts sort of all clicked together. It's one thing now and again to be political or to be topical, and another one entirely to politically weaponize something such as a TV show or a film that had been in pre-existence for decades. I think it's a totally different prospect.
Well, I think the biggest problem that they ran into was that Doctor Who is that, much like Star Trek, much like Star Wars, are morality tales, right? They are basic, simple morality tales, and these people are deeply immoral. As we see, their culture that has been forced upon society in the past 10 years has destroyed society. Wherever we go, England's a shithole, Canada's a shithole, California is a shithole. No,
Rabbi, that doesn't begin to describe what my country's like right now, but carry on.
I was being brief. But yeah, you can't do morality tales if you don't know how to read, right? You can't write stories if you don't read. And secondly, you can't write moral stories if you don't understand morality. If you don't understand why public indecency is a bad thing, right? The pride. Like, I have no problem with anybody being gay. I do have a problem with public nudity in gay parades and
simulation of sex on the streets and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, look, when they had Jinx Monsoon on that week in Doctor Who magazine, Ross D. Davis wrote about how he had a bunk up in a gay club while filming Rose or something like that, and Jinx Monsoon had a story about how he lost a condom up his arse. I'm like, no, I don't mind you doing all of that stuff. I do mind you putting that into Doctor Who because Doctor Who's a family show for families, and I'm not really comfortable sitting with my kids, watching chicks with dicks or whatever bullshit they're vomiting out today.
We've got some comments here in the live chat. People speaking here and obviously connecting with the sort of things that we've been sharing here. Ian Scales says, as regards the death of Doctor Who, R.I.P. Doctor Who. Chris, you're the creator of R.I.P. Doctor Who, of course. So we bow. Ian
You're
Scales
welcome.
Says, I've read people saying it's all because of bigots and racists, and there are several people who should know better, people who should be using their platform better, other commentators and writers who are also trotting. I mean, there are very few of them, but are kind of a few days on, kind of pushing responsibility for this away from characters such as Russell T Davies. And Russell's far from alone in this, but pushing it away from him onto our peers. Other fans, and I think that is so wrong. Funky's there says, since Thursday, all I've been thinking about is beer, puns on Who titles. Watch the last show to catch up with that. But David Mullen says and this is what I think people are struggling with, particularly the younger ones. It's going to take a while for the reality to sink in with 2005 series fans, and we've got to be here. I think we must be, to some degree, here for them, the nice ones, the reasonable ones, not the ones who sort of put us on lists of people they'd like to go under a bus and things like that, but the people who are really struggling with this. I've got a certain kind of amount of sympathy for that. Lips in here now says, has anyone ever mentioned the amount of jobs that have been lost because of this? There was lots of internships working on the show, just awful. Heart goes out to those financially affected. Well, most of them were working freelance too, for anywhere between six months up to 12 months. So I think 12 months might have been the cap on that, Ian. And that's the way the industry's going now, isn't it? A kind of uncertainty. As I understand it, Bad Wolf actually pays quite well compared to most others. But even so, I do feel for the people who are out of work.
It's not because of that, though. It's because of I hate to say these things, the blue-haired people. Blue-haired people's literally taken over the BBC. And majority of people have been there for years and years and years as freelancers, have been shoved to the side and kicked out the door because of these blue-haired people. Now, you take that as you will, but also, right, Doctor Who started failing not when Jodie started. It started failing towards the end of Matt Smith's era, when all the woke, and I hate to use that word again, all the woke stuff was being put in there. It started from there, and it kept going, and it kept going, and the climax was Jodie becoming the Doctor. From that point to that point, that's when Doctor Who died for me. It literally died.
40 seconds was shooting. That kind of fits.
Yes.
I actually personally, I totally agree with Ian. I was just going to say that I actually, if I had to pin down the exact moment where, in retrospect, this was the 0 point for everything that came after, it was in. And Charlotte will probably be able to correct me if I'm wrong. Is it the Doctor's wife with the Corsair? The first time they intimated that Time Lords could change genders. That for me is the origin point for all of this.
Yeah.
Well, absolutely. I remember my big moment for realizing of like integrity of writing is just going out the window, all in aid of a message. And it was the writing of the first Doctor in Twice Upon a Time.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's terrible.
That was a complete character assassination of the first Doctor.
Bravo, yes,
because what they did, they took lines which made sense when basically a granddad is talking to their grandchild in that first bit of the era. So they took lines about him, "I'll smack your bottom" or something to that degree.
Yeah.
That was said in a grandfather way to a grandchild, and it wasn't said in any sort of like anger,
abusive way
at all. Yeah, that's the better word for it. But the way they did it, they repeated that line, and he did it and he said it to Bill. The first Doctor would never say that to a woman he hardly knows, that he's literally just met.
No. Yeah.
And like there was other lines that they put in his mouth which made the first Doctor out to be sexist. That made him out, and like the fact that basically the 12th Doctor in that multiple times was apologizing for what the first Doctor was saying. He was embarrassed by him almost. And
it was done deliberately.
That didn't bother me at all. That really didn't bother me. That just kind of made me laugh.
No, it should do, Rabbi. It should have bothered you big time.
I just thought they were taking the piss, and I don't really mind people taking the piss. It's generally speaking what I enjoy.
But here's why it bothered me, Rabbi, because I'm thinking at the time, there's going to be people who've never watched a first Doctor episode, and this is their first exposure.
Yep.
Right. Assassination.
That's a fair point. That's definitely a fair point.
And then it just felt like it was all done to then set up Jodie. And that was my big moment with the modern one to go, oh, what are you playing at, BBC?
Make no mistake, it was deliberate. Everything that you see, everything that you hate about Doctor Who was deliberate. It was a plan to actually change the Doctor to a woman. And they were so convinced that the Jodie Doctor was actually going to be a success that they just threw everything at it. And it wasn't, because, look, let me tell you something, right? People don't want to see the Doctor as a woman or a black man. They don't, right? No matter what anyone says, no matter what's written, and they don't. And the proof is the ratings, right? We gave him a shot. Shooty Gatwick, he came in. We gave him a shot, but it failed. Nobody wanted to see him as the Doctor. No, look,
I don't think it felt because black. I think it felt because it was like...
Rabbi, it was a combination of everything, including him being black.
I think he was cast because he was black, but I don't think him being black was the reason that it tanked.
No, I think it's one of the reasons why it failed. And it doesn't mean to say, and it doesn't mean to say, and it doesn't mean to say that we are racist. Look, I believe the Doctor is a white male, and he is a white male. He's been a white male for X amount of years. Don't tell me that they didn't change the rules so they can have this garbage in one of my favorite shows. They did it. They did it deliberately. There's no excuse for it.
100% did that. I completely agree with you. But I think if they made normal Doctor Who, like if they got Patterson Joseph to be the Doctor after Sylvester McCoy, or instead of Colin Baker, I think it would have worked.
It would have at that moment in time. Yeah, sure.
Quality, it would have been fine, but they just put out garbage.
The inevitable moment, I think, the indisputable moment when we knew we were going to get Jodie or fill in whatever other female actress they were going to do was when we got Missy. That was
I like Missy as well.
Michelle Gomez was great, extraordinarily entertaining in that part, but that was the indisputable sign that a female doctor was coming.
There's actually a sequence. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, Gary.
No, I was done. Go ahead.
There's actually there's a sequence of events throughout the show that led to this, and I think Doctor Who peaked during Matt Smith's first season, and I think I've been on record as saying the Matt Smith era is the only era of New Who I could ever see myself watching again. But there was something that happened in season 5. It's kind of like, you know, the stepping on the butterfly thing, where a seemingly small joke unraveled everything, where Stephen Moffat, in between seasons 5 and 6, had been accused of being, shall we say, well, I think I could say the word, a sexist or a misogynist. And that was because, if you remember, in season 5, there was the episode where Karen Gillan tries to jump Matt Smith before she's about to get married. And that's where the well, no, but that's where and it was a perfectly harmless joke. And I think, you know, that was the peak of the show, but Stephen Moffat, because people have no sense of humor, had come under fire for that, for being sexist. And so by the time we have season 6, we have that basically just a throwaway line, or what seemed to be at the time a throwaway line in The Doctor's Wife, which was anything but. It was moving this idea into canon. By the time Peter Capaldi was cast as the Doctor, one actress who I've been on record, I would not support her anymore, but at the time I supported Olivia Colman. I think, you know, had they done something interesting with the female Doctor at that time, keep in mind we're talking back in 2013, completely different era, that culture was so different then compared to now. We might as well be on another planet. I thought at the time, okay, Olivia Colman, I could see her playing the Doctor. It can't be about gender. You have to do something interesting with it. And they went in an entirely wrong direction. Jodie Whittaker was ill cast as the Doctor. I think in the time, there's a difference between RTD2 and the Chibs Whittaker era. RTD2 is just vile and hateful. It's some of the most hateful TV I've ever watched. The Whittaker era might eventually become so bad it's funny, because it's so incompetent on every level. Terribly acted, terribly written, terribly directed. And I know Ian has probably noticed this as well. Ugly. For some reason, the focus is soft in half those episodes.
Yeah.
The people behind the camera didn't know what they were doing. But I was the one who came under massive fire in 2021 and 2022. And once again, like 2017 and 2021, I was by myself. Although I think Ian, you had some concern at the time too, when RTD was announced.
Always.
It's like,
and Simon.
Simon.
Simon Horton,
and I made a video warning people that this is not going to be what you think it is. And at some point, I may actually repost that. I'm going to start posting some of my older videos on my X account so you can see, you know, where these ideas originated from. But I warned people in 2021, this is not going to be what you think it is. And both sides jumped on my head, including, I will not mention his name, but a very large YouTuber who likes making hour-long videos, participated in a dunking session with another now long gone YouTuber that also made 5-hour-long videos. I will not mention this person's name. You would probably be surprised if you knew who it was. I know people on the stream know who it is. But I was getting, there was a series of live streams calling me very bad names because I dared to warn them, including a very large YouTuber who I will not mention by name, but the guy is a complete fraud and a grifter. I'll tell anybody privately who it is, but I'm not going to get into a war with YouTubers because I just don't do that thing anymore. I just make fun of them without mentioning their names. But I had been dunked on for warning them. And then came 2022. And if you remember, I got frustrated to the point that I quit. Basically, I left YouTube for about 13 months. I even rebranded myself. For about a year, I was still streaming with Dan under the name Cultivated Media. But this is where I decided I'd had enough. In 2022, when Dr. Nutty was cast, Shooty Gatwa, for those of you who don't know who he is, like what Ian was just saying, and I didn't even make a video on it. I had a video ready to go, and I decided I was just so fed up with this crap. It's still to this day, 4 years later, sitting on my hard drive, never posted. But as soon as I saw the casting announcement, and this does not make me homophobic or racist or anything. One of the things I was attacked for was I said the Doctor needs to be a white, asexual British male, which is what he had always been. I could not be the Doctor. I'm a Canadian. I have nothing against, who you do, what you do. That's not the Doctor. The Doctor he was cast as a white British man. So I'm advocating a demographic that does not represent me. I am obviously not a white British man. Well, I guess I'm white, but I'm not British. And
it's horrible, isn't it? Because the first thing you see the new Doctor doing was dancing in a gay club in a skirt. Now
the first thing you see is him emerge from David Tennant's crotch, half naked.
God. God, I forgot about that. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
So many terrible things. It's incredible.
You after seeing that, I knew it was dead, right? And the only episode I watched because of Dan and because of the rabbi was the Christmas one, the one with the rope. He can talk rope and all that rubbish.
Oh,
that was the only one I watched. Yeah, that's the only one I watched. And I was like, I was out because I knew where it was going. Everybody knew where it was going. Yet people just ignored it because they so wanted Doctor Who. They so wanted it to work.
Correct.
None of it worked. None of it worked.
You're 100% right. I just wanted it to be good. And that's why I close my eyes to everything. But eventually they have to show you what they're making. And we saw Doomsday, we saw Dancing Davros, and then we saw Space Baby. I even had hope even after the Christmas episode. Frankly, I thought that was an interesting new direction to go in. It could work. Because you didn't really get to see that much of Shooty Gatwa. But by the time
But listen to this, guys, right? So you got the Doctor dancing in a gay bar, gay club, and in a skirt. Then you've got a grown 25-year-old man dressed as a woman, pretending to be a teenager in one of those episodes. And you're like, what? Why? This is a children's show. Why? Why is this happening? Do you know what I mean?
In context, that would be illegal.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Is that what they're trying to promote to kids? Of course, that's what they're trying to promote kids.
Yes.
And that's why I think all of this stuff is horrible and they hate the fans and they want to go one direction. But they made one fatal mistake. They thought that their kind would support them and they didn't. And therefore, we've lost Doctor Who. So
we've already had, Ian, quite the reaction from the media, the mainstream. And what I expected was for Russell T Davies to sort of slink off to make for the hills in shame, Gary, in embarrassment, licking his wounds at his probably only serious failure in his career that will absolutely blight his legacy, not just with Doctor Who, but as a populist screenwriter. So there's all of that. And then there's all of the feeling that the air is coming out of the tires as well. I thought everybody was exhausted, but no, it's well into the media cycle to the point. I mean, the BBC they've got it billed like this: BBC cancels Doctor Who Christmas special, and Russell T Davies announces exit. So that's pretty clean. But it was picked up in a lot of places. Total Film and Empire Doctor Who Christmas cancellation is the best thing that could happen to the show, said Total Film. And Doctor Who fans are in for bad news after showing a Russell T Davies exits. This was absolutely everywhere. And Russell T Davies himself, he was also in the press within 24 hours complaining, and I'm not sure when the statement was made, but basically saying that it's kind of all the fault of those nasty people because they didn't like it, because I cast a T person in Doctor Who, and they immediately got angry with me. Well, yeah, some people did, because it's a family show. Here you are forcing, how can I put this, complex ideological issues concerning things such as identity and various different very hot button topics into a family show. Just after tea time, early evening, you're putting this before parents and their children, who then got to explain to their kids before they go to bed and answer any questions that they may have. So quite reasonably, most parents are not going to want all that shit before bedtime. Even if they're progressive, they don't necessarily want all that shit before bedtime. And so quite rightly, they withdrew their support for the show. And there's Russell going, oh, it's because they're bad people, they're bigots. Some of the people involved may have very clear, defined beliefs that are completely opposite to those of Russell's, but a lot of them were simply putting their families first and wanted to prioritise a decent evening in front of the TV. And Doctor Who is meant to be populist entertainment. I think all of these media outlets, they understand what it's meant to be. Some of them more than others, but they understand it, and they have an ear for fandoms, because obviously they take our contact through social media and the people who may email them. But the BBC and creatives like Russell, and sadly, I hate to, everybody at Bad Wolf, has become increasingly distant from their audience. They're quite happy to believe whatever Russell believes. I think Jane Tranter said something like, wherever Russell goes, we follow. I think, really? That's a business model, is it? I don't think that's necessarily a good idea myself.
Well, as you described on Thursday, Dan, this is his biggest professional failure, biggest professional embarrassment in his career.
Easily.
And as want to do, I know that, for example, over here, I think in America, I think the Democrats do this a lot. Instead of addressing the issue and addressing the points that are being made by his critics, he takes the coward's move and actually attacks the people who are making the criticism and not the criticism itself.
He was trying to put himself over, reframe himself, Gary, take the platform as a victim of something.
Exactly.
And that's what really. Now, I can take people being defensive. I can understand that failure is ugly. A public failure is hard to deal with. I don't know how I'd cope with that. I'd like to think I'd cope with it better the other side of 60, like Russell is. But the way that things have gone, to paint yourself out as a victim of some sort of campaign of abuse, right, or more to the point, to have been a sort of standard bearer. And this is, I think, a lot of the problem with activists, whether they're activists for trans people or anyone in society, people who act and speak for others when they are not of that group, is that they get that consumed with this inflated view of themselves takes over their identity. And I think that's who he's putting himself forward as. And if you slight me, if you smite me, if you reject my teachings, you reject those people. And it's not necessarily the case. It's activism that we reject rather than any individuals and their groups. And this hasn't worked. Arguably, the mainstream media are full of this stuff. They've picked up on what we're saying. Russell T Davies and the BBC hit by angry backlash over Doctor Who liars. There's no other word for this, Charlotte. 4-letter word, very, very simple. And sometimes the simplest words they fit the best. Out and out, simple lies.
Well, I was noticing the media change in the reviews for that second series of Shooty at the time, because they were actually for once talking about his writing and saying about the issues and talking about how the characters weren't
starting
being
to change, isn't
developed,
it?
how like plot lines are just being left and not resolved. All the things that we have been talking about when we were watching it week in, week out, I was actually seeing press and print media in their way repeat the same talking points. So I was like, oh, that's different. Like, now they can be a bit more truthful about these episodes, because before they wouldn't do that. So I think this has been a long time coming, and now like you said, they feel fully like the wind's for once behind them, to be honest. And just to add a bit about what you were saying to do with Rose, the character of Rose. Here's the thing. The best thing that he could have done, Russell, to silence anybody criticising that choice, anybody who was unsure, is to write a really good character and prove everybody wrong, like he did with Jack, Captain Jack, back in 2005.
Right.
But the problem was, he made that character and did nothing with her. She literally was in the giggle. That was the most she had screen time. And then she was just there stood with an iPad for every other appearance. Or she was just there to sort of be part of unit but not really do anything in the plot.
It's because, Charlotte, the impactful and relatable side to that story, to Rose's story, is so complicated and so raw that, and obviously not the, and this is not, and it's not the business of Doctor Who to tell these sorts of stories anyway, because they're so complicated. It's the story of transition in the first place, and they touched on that in the Star Beast. But because it's not the business of an adventure show to labour on topics like that, to really get into the weeds with them, he actually, in my view, he shortchanged the character,
He did.
the actor, and the people who were watching, who had turned up, or maybe they were watching anyway and had a surprise. Oh, it's a person, my cousin or my niece or they've been through this. They were looking at it and they see like two scenes, so it was not enough to please anyone at all. And it's this, and if you want to look at the superficial side to it, the subversion. And that's what a lot of this was about. It's the subversion. Even if people can't pin a tail on it, Ian, I think that the mainstream audiences, they recognise when something is off. They have a sixth sense when they're being propagandized and when something is part of a movement that is not acting in our best interests. And again, I mean, I don't think it's any coincidence that when you whack these characters, whether it's the guy in Starfleet Academy, the Klingon guy, putting him in a skirt and then putting Ncuti Gatwa's doctor in a skirt and making him fluid or whatever you want to call it, all of these little things, they, in and of themselves, they're isolated things. And people may sort of roll their eyes, but it was relentless. It was one thing after another thing after another, and that's indoctrination. That's propaganda. That is social engineering.
Totally true. That stupid Rose character, there's no need for that character to be in that show, Doctor Who show at all. It's deliberate. They're trying to normalize things like that through kids. It's a horrible thing they're doing.
And admittedly, Ian, the criticism that Russell's fielding at the moment isn't in connection really with all of that stuff. So when he's pointing at it and saying, "Oh, it's because of this," nobody that I've seen is mentioning all of that stuff and digging up any of that. The people who are actually contacting him on social media are just pissed off that despite his great claims, he has got their favourite show, our favourite show, effectively cancelled. So they're pissed off about it. And how is he handling it? He's handling it the same way as usual. He's swearing at them or he's blocking them on social media. Lots of people are reporting this. They're having exchanges with Russell. And I'm sure there are people out there who are taking it too far, because some people always do. But there's people who seem to be perfectly reasonable people who've raised the topic with him, and they've just been instantly blocked by this guy. Admittedly, he's not in the job anymore, but I think if he was responsible, he doesn't have to answer all of them, but I think blocking them rather than say, "Well, I'm sorry, I regret that you feel that way, but I really believed in that, and maybe the next era will be for you." Nothing like that. He just blocks them or tells them to fuck off. I mean, what a nasty piece of work.
It's much easier and more comfortable to blame other people than yourself for your own mistakes, right? So, which is what Russell Davies is doing right now. He made mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake.
He doesn't care.
But he doesn't
care.
want to take accountability for it. He's like, "Oh no, it's these bigots over there that don't like chicks with dicks."
Have you not seen what's going on in the world, right? We have politicians, right, that will lie And then when you call them out for it, they will still lie and lie and lie. They don't care. This is the era we're living in. Russell T is just towing the line. He doesn't give a shit about Doctor Who. He doesn't give a shit how he's destroyed it.
I agree
He
with
doesn't care. And even if he knows in his heart that he destroyed it, right? But he won't admit it to himself or to the public. You know why? Because if he admits it to himself, his whole world falls apart. It's just like if you ask a trans person, what is a woman? And if they answer it, their whole world falls apart. Their whole way of thinking, their whole logic will fall apart if they answer that question and they know the answer to that question. This is the world we're living in now. So what can we do?
That's why they always do the avoidance thing. Like, well, not Michael knows. There was some documentary a couple of years ago where he's asking, trans activists, professors, like, so what is a woman? And the professor goes like, well, what do you want to know for? Why is that important?
You see, for the Doctor Who viewership, those sorts of questions, in their everyday life, they might well think about these things for whatever's going on in their family or the friend circle, or simply things that they're interested in or people that they may work with. But for Doctor Who fans, we often fixate on questions like this instead. Who on earth was the boss? Asks Zach Whitten. I guess we'll never find out now. Yeah. Just one of several plot threads left dangling in the wake of Doctor Who's cancellation, the cessation of Russell's vision.
It's Tony Danza, dude.
Oh, that makes sense. There you go. But okay, the whole boss thing, that really is indicative, right? Because they, just like with the Jodie era, they were so convinced this was going to be a smash hit and knock out the park. They were so insanely convinced, and they talked to the fans like shit, because they thought, oh, everyone's going to love us. No, Russell, you're in a clown cuckoo.
Big Finish knows who's the boss is. That'll be in an 8-disc box set next year.
How are they still in business? But I think, Dan, that picture you just had of Dr. Nutty and Brittany, The Shame of Kronos, are you able to put that back up just for a second?
Yeah.
Okay. Of course. And here's part of the hilarity and also the patheticness and all this. So so for those of you who don't know, so on the right we have Dr. Nutty. And for those of you who, yes, I suffered through all of Starfleet Academy, you can find those videos on my channel, but I gave them all special names. So on the right, we have who I have dubbed Brittany, the Shame of Kronos. Now, the thing is, these people, the people that most of them don't actually believe a thing they're saying, and the rest are very mentally ill, but society who maybe 10, 15 years ago is willing to give them a chance through various reasons and terrible behavior, it's only a very small bubble of people that still support this, and it's a very insulated bubble. And just do some lurking on X, or I don't even know if Blue Sky is still a thing anymore. But these people are so off the wall, it's humorous. But if we're looking at the woke era in totality, if it is coming to an end because largely it's broken, it only appeals to that little bubble. But I think it's both amusing and very depressing. And I guess also maybe cathartic that the two worst examples of this entire era came at the end. Out of all the woke trash we've seen over the past 10 years, roughly 2016, actually exactly 20 years, because Ghostbusters 2016 premiered 16 years ago this summer. You have Doctor Who, which looked at the Jodie Whittaker era, and Dr. Nutty said, hold my beer. I never thought it could get worse, but somehow it did. And then you have the other worst example, which is Star Trek Starfleet Academy. If you have not seen the Star Trek show, as bad as you think it is, it's worse. We suffered through all 10 weeks of it on our Saturday show. And it still boggles the mind how bad it was. But this is what it's come to. We have two of the three beloved franchises. Star Wars is dead. So it's like it was killed by Grogu and Mando. That didn't go over very well. But out of the other two franchises, the two worst examples, Doctor Who and Star Trek, have been reduced to Dr. Nutty and Brittany, the Shame of Kronos. I don't think the woke era can go much longer because the woke era is out of money. I don't know what's going to replace it. And I am very happy in my own favorite genre of horror that it was the least destroyed out of all genres during this era, aside from mainstream. It has A24, which is doing amazing right now, and they were probably the only studio other than Neon on the planet I can think of that didn't go woke. So I am hopeful we are going to see something new and something original, and I'm sure it will come as no surprise. But do I ever want to see Doctor Who come back? No. I don't ever want to see Doctor Who come back. That show ended in 1989. I don't know what this thing was that we were watching for 21 years, but it was not that show that I grew up with. Aside from maybe 3 seasons of Matt Smith, it's all unwatchable. What I want, don't bring this back. Give us something new. This show is wrecked beyond any recovery because it wasn't just one bad season. It was 8, really 9 if you go back to the announcement, terrible years where they spent the entire time showing their contempt for their fans. This show does not deserve to come back. I doubt any film company is stupid enough to think they can take this on right now, considering the show is so poisoned, nobody even wants to take on the lead role anyway.
We have got a bit of news. We have got a bit of news about that. And now you mentioned it, we'll come to it in a little while. I mean, with the impact for Russell T Davies has been quite severe. He's not taking it well either. He has given some further interviews, which we're going to look at on Type 40 Live in the coming week. But we talked about this. This is a serious petition that's up there. You know, a petition to get Russell T Davies arrested is real, and the signatures are. I understand they have passed that 5,000 now, so we could be going old chokey there.
Have you signed that yet, Ian?
I will right now.
but the reason why people feel the way they do, isn't, and you're quite right, Chris, multiple bad seasons, stupid decisions, lots of propagandizing and othering, out and out bigotry, and anti-heterosexual things that are said publicly. The wildest takes we've had from this man, he's completely lost the plot. So there's all that going on. But for Doctor Who fans, they just feel that they were promised something, not just a Christmas special that he hasn't delivered on. This is just the latest of many things. This thing on his way out the door. Bear in mind that he started by telling us this stuff when they announced that the series, whatever it was, season 1 that became season 1, that was going to be 8 episodes, just 8 episodes. People lashed out then, and they were really cross about that. Well, what's going on, Russell? You promised this, you promised. He said it takes a while to get the empire in shape, but that's a serious plan. Annual Doctor Who, no gap years, lots of content on and on. He said, okay, that's fewer episodes than the last full season, but give us time. We have plans, and that's a promise. Again, whatever plans. Yeah, he did not deliver remotely on any of those. And the whole thing is a sequence of things that he didn't or wouldn't deliver on. And that's what's worn people down with this. And to have the brass neck to have lied about it for months and months and months on end too. And he's still lying now. He claims he hadn't written a script. We know he may be splitting hairs. Maybe there was no complete script, but we know there was a script. This man is an arch bullshitter, and it's got to the point where it is utterly intolerable now, and people are just sick of it. They know a turd when they smell one.
You know, the infuriating thing to me personally about the one, I'm going to stick to the statements that he's made, Dan, that you brought up, and I'm not going to mention the ones that, as you said, we haven't covered yet, but we will. But the one you mentioned about where all of a sudden he now tries to shield himself by trying to divert things to the trans rose
groups
argument. So, which to me is like just, you know, a total cowardly move. But my first reaction is, Russell, in all of this, you are the last person who gets to play the victim in this.
Yep.
Because, you know, he makes this monumentally passive aggressive Instagram statement, you know, where it's like, well, you know, it's goodbye from me, but, you know, we're going to get, you know, multi-year shows. What was it, Charlotte? Multi-year shows, you know, coming down the line, something like that. So basically he's saying, everybody calm down, shut up, and go away, because eventually you'll get it, which all begs the question, yes, Russell, but why is it going away? Don't BS me that I should be happy that it might come back when you can't take responsibility for the fact that it's going away in the first place.
Yeah, and
So,
I couldn't agree more.
And we've all sort of said this in different ways in some of the Thursday shows we've done. If you actually look at the amount of episodes, even if you count the spin-off, it's about 20 odd episodes.
26, I think, something like that.
Like, that's nothing compared to what Modern Who was doing back when it was 13 episodes of run, let alone if you try and compare it to Classic when you could have multiple parts to your story. This is the thing that has sort of... I use this word because of what I'm going about to say. It's impressive in a weird sense how quickly this has fallen down. When you actually look at the amount of content it took, the amount of episodes and screen time it took for people to basically go, no, I'm out. Like, I've never seen a Doctor. I think even Jodie didn't get rejected this quickly in some ways than Shooty's Doctor did.
Yeah, everybody was in shock.
It's because it compounds things. One thing, what makes things worse, people don't wipe the slate clean when these things happen. They compound one on top of another, and that's what builds up the pressure that eventually breaks the foundation.
Yeah, we've all said this. It's the combination of what Chibnall did before him, and the mistakes there, and the rewriting of the law. And then you combine it with what Russell was doing. And I think when we got to Shooty's run, people were just exhausted and weren't willing to give chances in the fandom. And I think they had every right to feel like that. Yeah. So they saw what they saw and were like, no, I'm out. But
Keegan has joined us again in the live chat, Charlotte. He's been on several shows before, so it's good to see you, Keegan. And of course, you're welcome to come back at some point. Can't stand Russell now. I know that Keegan used to be a fan. The way he's treated the fandom is just disrespectful, and he's lied to everybody for a year. It is that simple. People know right from wrong. They know when they've been lied to and when they haven't, and it upsets people. And you're right, Charlotte. He's been doing this stuff for a really long time. It stretches all the way back. The earliest reference I could find was at this event, the Doctor Who at 60 musical celebration, which took place October, I think it was, of 2023. So so the three showrunners, they were there with Joe Wiley hosting, and it was a beautiful thing. This concert went out live on the radio, or a couple of days later, and then it was on telly over the Christmas as well. But as part of that, as part of the promo round for that, Russell was talking about the writing process, because obviously even the 60th anniversary specials hadn't been screened then. But he was talking a big game then, that he was working hard to put it all together, build or rebuild, I should say, a vision, and guarantee he could deliver on the kind of noises that he was making. And during an interview for that 60th anniversary celebration concert, he said this. Let me think. Okay, series 4. I'm going to write an episode that's all music and no dialogue. We plan ahead. There's no room in series 3. So this was November 20th.
And
he was talking about series 3 and series 4, Rabbi. This is coming on for 3.5, nearly 3 years ago. So understandably, people like Keegan, lots of other people in the live chat who are venting their spleen, understandably, think, well, what happened to series 3 and series 4? There could be people out there who...
The British public, the viewing public, vomited it out. And the Disney Plus audience vomited. Nobody wanted it. Bottom line, nobody wanted dumbed-down queer Doctor Who.
Well, and one thing that's funny, going back to something that you just said, in terms of the introduction of doctors, when you compare the introductions of Whittaker and Dr. Nutty, Dr. Nutty was dislikable from the instant he emerged from David Tennant's crotch without wearing pants, and then proceeded not to wear pants from the first episode for the rest of the episode. The difference is, at least with Whittaker, I think everybody, the woman who fell to earth, or whatever the hell that was called, everybody, including myself at the time, I think that my little post-episode discussion is still on my channel. We're all willing to give it a chance. And at the time, we're like, well, okay, we kind of wrote off, okay, the performance in the episode, it must be post-regenerative psychosis, because we know that has happened in the past. Then by episode 2, we're like, oh, no, that's going to be her actual performance. Oh, Jesus Christ. But at least, with Whittaker, fandom was willing to give it a chance. Dr. Nutty is completely unlikable just from the moment he comes out. And notice he's like, I think the only doctor that didn't have some post-regenerative trauma. You know, you have like David Tennant and Capaldi end up in freaking comas, but not Dr. Nutty. He's perfect right outside of the crotch. And that's the way they portrayed this character. You cannot portray him in any bad light. And he's sensitive. He cries in every goddamn episode.
But that was the Russell T's writing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Right. Well,
remember, Chris, that I think it was in one of the. I think maybe it was in his the last special where he goes on and he says that he's already kind of gotten rid of all of his trauma. He's already done all the therapy and he's fine and he's settled, because now they have to shift all of the weakness over to the white guy, which was the 14th Doctor. So he comes along and says, "Oh, I'm fine. I'm strong. I got my act together. We're going to go on." And then he spends the next 2 seasons crying all the time, as you just said.
He did not evoke much confidence. The thing that has made every previous actor who played the Doctor, both on the classic series and the new series, except for Peter Davison, but he did something different that for him actually worked. But every other Doctor, there was this intensity and there was this danger behind the performance. Like you always got the idea that, behind the Doctor's personality was nothing other than a persona that shifts from incarnation to incarnation. But you get the idea behind there is somebody who is dangerous and somebody that you don't want to mess with. And I've always said that most of the performance, and Davison did do this, just he had his own take on it, was nonverbal. It was in the eyes. And every actor, aside from the 2 most recent, actually got this. The most important aspect of the performance of this character is nonverbal. Both Whittaker and Gatwa completely missed this. They are the personality. When you look at either, there is no hint of that danger. Like Whittaker, people will be studying that performance for decades, trying to figure out what the hell she was trying to do. But there was no sense of danger. There was no sense of anything. The guy cries in every episode. Where's the danger? The nonverbal Doctor was not present because neither actor, actress, 2 women, I don't know, whatever you want to call them, they weren't capable of it. They were miscast from the beginning. And I am convinced that even though I will admit I liked RT's original run, I now find it unwatchable because you can see where it was headed in retrospect. But I think when he started, the reason why those seasons were so strong is he had other very competent people, namely Stephen Moffat, who was the best showrunner and the best writer of the new series by a mile. He had competent people working with him, and I think the show actually succeeded in spite of him. Because when you look at when he came back, when all the checks and balances were removed, he had everything to his own devices. We saw what came of it. And it's just, 20 years from now, people, entertainment historians, will still be examining what the hell went on here. And but still, Whittaker's performance is one thing that sticks out to me as a marvel. I've never seen anything like it. I don't know if it was incompetent. I don't know if she was
Chris, it's the worst leading performance I think I've ever seen.
She was portraying a person with brain damage. Like, that's how you have to look at it. Somebody who hit their head a bit too hard when she regenerated and never recovered, and they went with that for 3 years.
Clud in the live chat says here, "I respect Whittaker, Charlotte. She did what she could with the material she was given. I think that will be seen more by the fan base as the years roll on." I do know people who are revising their opinion of that era. Our own Luke Walters feels similarly to Clud there. So there is a pocket of people who feel that way. I can't imagine ever going back to that material again, partly because of the baggage of it. I just can't imagine doing it. But what were you going to say, Charlotte?
I was going to say, I think there was a couple of core issues that relates to what Chris was talking about there. that we got Shooty by some stupid new invention called bi-regeneration, which Russell still hasn't fully explained. But the fact that he didn't arrive traditionally, that's my point. He arrived in this weird new thing Russell had made up and then didn't get explained.
Bi-generation. Work it out.
Oh, in the show, and you know what I'm talking about here.
Yeah, I know.
Like, as a canon addition, it just came out of nowhere, and then it sort of was nothing. And then the other big thing, and I've said this about Shooty's Doctor and Whittaker, I think it applies to both of them. If you compare their doctors to that first run of Tennant, Chris, Matt, and Capaldi, all those other doctors had this real sense that the writers knew what personalities they were going to have, what sort of character traits they were going to have, and what sort of underlining story and arc they were going to go with those doctors in modern run. And then when you get to Whittaker and Shooty, I feel like they're the most thin doctors when it comes to the writing of their character we've ever had. There was nothing to sort of be that force to sort of get you interested in their doctors as a character.
Well, you know, the thing, I think you really saw this with in the Superman comic books when they made him gay, was that when you make a character gay, black, when you do some kind of like DEI change like that, that's the end of the story. That's not the beginning. There's nothing else to say there. They've reached the conclusion. Right, so Shooty was black and gay, and that was it, and there was nowhere else to go. Yeah. Jodie was a woman, and that was it. There's nowhere else to go. Right, I mean, like in defense of the Jodie Whittaker, which I can't believe I'm actually doing, at least by the end they tried to do a pastiche that kind of looked like Doctor Who. Right, that last episode, Power of the Dog, it was everything she's in is terrible. She's horribly miscast. Right, but by the time they got to Flux and the last specials, they knew this what Doctor Who looked like to a normie, and they tried to produce that rather than their like woke shit.
They're trying to save it.
Yeah,
they're trying to save
it. And then Russell Davies came.
It was
woke enough. Let's make it more woke.
Yeah, it was too late. It was too late. The damage had already been done, and the fans had gone away. So they were trying to say, "Oh no, we're going back to the way it is," but it was too late. It was literally too late. So. And what Charlotte was saying is that they replaced a lot of script writers, decent script writers that know their craft with, I hate to say this again, blue-haired people. That's why we got what we got. I mean, Russell T wasn't working with the script writers that he had before. He was working with people that want to put all this stuff into the show. Mm-hmm. One of them was, activists. Yeah, exactly. So what do you expect? This is what we got, you know, so...
I want to take some more comments because I can't believe the amount of comments, everybody. Thank you. There's a lot of people watching. Thank you so much for being here. A second time in a couple of days, people. Coquelin also says, I feel that the BBC didn't get who they never did. They saw Chibnall as a lifeline to take over from Moffat. He messed up and they thought Russell could save it. And Russell has his own agendas. Well, the BBC has never understood Doctor Who. When it's working, they don't know why it's working. And when it fails, they are far more surprised than the audience are because they haven't got an ear for what the audience wants. Alex Batt has joined us on YouTube. Hi, Alex. Says, was actually very excited to see Billy Piper in the reality war, and I was excited for what would happen next. Russell's writing for the show has been terrible, though, and Gatwa hasn't done the show any favors. And we've got Atom Mirabalis. This is, I've been listening in my car. I feel like the way they ended season 2 was a personal smack at me because they outright stole my Omega Seal. So Adam designed, he was the one who conceived and refined that design.
It's so bizarre.
They clearly got it from Google and found Adam's website, Rabbi, and lifted it and used it. And he never heard a single word about that.
Even more bizarre was Alex Lee's Dr. Alex. He wrote, he's written 3 Doctor Who seasons in book format. It's on the channel. But the final season had the Rani in it, and there's a lot of bizarre similarities. Like, he's convinced they ripped him off. At this point, who knows? I mean, look at the remember when the Star Trek Discovery started, and they had that weird was it fungus drive, mycelial drive? And it turned
Spore
out
drive.
Tardigrade,
yeah.
Spore drive.
The tardigrade.
Spore drive, right? And that was ripped off from a fan game or something.
Anas Abdeen.
We've got Russell T. Davies in the live chat. Who is this Bowls Trek pretending to be me? Russell T. Davies, the one and only, the greatest man to have ever lived, the greatest writer who can do no ill. Who is this Bowls Trek?
Russell, I'm sorry, buddy. It's not going to happen, dude. I know you're trying to convert everyone, and I know you love me. You secretly love me, and I know you know who I am.
Okay.
Russell.
Can I'll speak hopefully for everybody on this, because I've already, my head hurts with how many times and articles and YouTube things I've seen over the last 48 hours with the show isn't canceled. He's even going on and high-handedly going, Russell in a radio interview, which I'm sure we'll cover in the coming weeks. It's not canceled, it's on tender. Look, Top Gear wasn't canceled either, but it hasn't been on air for years. It was never officially canceled, but it never. Who has anybody seen it?
Hey, Russell, I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna give you an example.
Hang on a second, just one thing. So basically, what I was going to say is, okay, there's no show, there's no cast, there's no script, there's no showrunner, there's no production team, there's no scripts, there's no crew, there's no sets, there's no set plans now. That's canceled as far as I can see.
Wait. Has the TARDIS set finally been taken down? Because they kept saying, it's up, we're doing tours.
That won't be taken down for quite some time. It's going to remain in place, and it is costing. It's an expensive set to remain installed. I can't talk about figures and things. I do know how much it costs. We can't really talk about that. I also know Richard Brooks says, where is the Disney money? The situation financially between Disney and Bad Wolf and BBC Studios isn't quite the way that we think it is in the fandom, and certainly the people in the commentator space have assumed it was. It wasn't a case of Disney just turning up with this big fat check for them, or this steady flow of money paid on a direct debit every month. It didn't work like that, and I wish we could talk about this publicly, but the details of it. But it just wasn't the way that people think it was, as a case of, Disney have a right for this because they paid for the TARDIS set and they paid for it didn't work like that. They didn't pay for the spin-off. They didn't pay for the TARDIS set. But it's more complicated than that. And maybe one day we will be able to talk about that publicly. And Funky says, and something that none of us will ever solve, I don't think if Russell T. Davies knows this, what is the morality of the situation? The Mavity thing, I understand that's been softly rewritten somewhere. I can't remember though. Is it part
that
of
is the dumbest joke in the history of dumb jokes, and it had.
Hey, everybody, let's not forget the little tooth, the Master's tooth. We don't know what's going on. We're not know what's going on with that.
Please. But I think the Mavity thing and the bi-generation thing was to make it clear that this is in a different continuity, different universe, right? Because we don't have Mavity, and I think that the Disney stuff is exclusive to Disney. I think I'm not sure if that was done, as an edict by Disney, but it definitely did separate out the show from everything else before, including the Jodie era, even though they kept referencing back to it. But again, the Mavity thing and it was a totally different show.
Yeah. I would just like to say, when you put something out to tender, and I think the image that Dan has on the screen right now will illustrate my point perfectly. So you can put anything out to tender and hope that somebody is going to buy your product. So I could take, that lovely image that Dan has on the screen, and I could say, I want to make a cookbook. That's going to be my product. So I'm gonna put it out to tender that somebody will finance my cookbook and co-produce a cookbook where I can produce what's on the screen right there. Typically, I would imagine that nobody is realistically going to take up my cookbook. So I can put it out to tender. That doesn't mean anything's going to go on with it. Now, when you're putting out a show like Doctor Who to tender, who presently actually resembles a lot like what we're seeing on screen right now, it's unlikely, as I said, that anybody is going to pick that up. So to tender means, yes, you are canceled. when even the BBC is forced to give up on one of its main propaganda machines, you know things are bad. Things are very bad. So yeah, you can tender it all you want. I wish you luck. Maybe you
Well,
can
see,
get...
this is why I have hope, because it sounds like they're living in financial reality now. If they're putting out if they're making a show and they want to get people to buy it, there's no one going to buy it if it looks shit, right? You can't say, oh, it's not pale, was it pale and stale or whatever I think they need the show to work. I think they need to be able to sell it, and I mean, look, and by the time it comes back, there's probably going to be a Rupert Lowe or a Nigel Farage government in England, which is going to make a massive difference in terms of accountability for the BBC.
Won't make a difference. Not at this point, Rabbi. You could bring back the Philip Hinchcliffe, Robert Holmes, Tom Baker era. And I think people are so turned off to this show that even that would be ignored.
I mean, honestly, the strongest argument to back up is The Mandalorian and Grogu, which was like, it wasn't the greatest movie ever, but it was fun. It was okay. Died a death, right? Star Wars is a killed franchise. That's the. I mean, they got one more hit with the Starfighter next year, but if that's not fabulous, it's dead. There's nothing they can really do with it at that point.
People love the Doctor Who iconography. It means it's all socially and culturally very important, very significant. But you're quite right. How much is it going to be worth right now at being sold as a going concern? And that segue, Rabbi, does lead us really nicely into our final item, really, which is this. I wanted to look at this leading on from what you were saying, Chris and Rabbi. So following that announcement that Doctor Who's being put out to tender, it's been widely suggested now by everybody reporting about it in the mainstream, such as Deadline, which is a serious, reputable, respected industry journal, you could say, based online. The suggestion is that it could be literally years until we see anything else at all. A Deadline came out with this article really, really quickly, a report examining the status of the show. And they were of the belief that all of the signs indicate that there is no feasible timeline for when Doctor Who could be relaunched, not least because it's not actually open for tender yet. So a lot of this is just an intent to put it out to tender. But say they receive in time anywhere up from, say, 6 to a dozen tenders to make Doctor Who. That in itself will take months just to sift through. And obviously, once any decision could be made about, which is the more attractive one, the realization of that new vision, that's going to take a lot of work before they even enter production on that. I went and looked it up, and apparently there was a gap of 1 year and 9 months in between Chris Chibnall being officially announced as the new producer, showrunner of Doctor Who, and this was all in-house then. So there was a year and 9 months between Chris Chibnall being announced as the new showrunner and his Series 11 just starting filming. It would be a further year and a bit until it was on screen. That's nearly 2.5 years. And again, that was all still in-house at Roath Lock. Deadline point out in this article here that it took 6 months for Casualty to go through the tender process, to be put out to tender, and then the deal with a successful applicant to be sealed. So that's a reasonable guideline, but Casualty is obviously a simpler, cheaper show. What Deadline did do is they contacted 4 UK drama producers, Ian, for their take, their instincts on kind of what Chris was saying, on how attractive or not Doctor Who is as an IP, and the invitation to tender itself is as something that they could theoretically go for as an independent. And there was quite the selection of responses here from the people who did speak. So, yeah, Deadline contacted 4 respected UK drama producers to test the appetite for making Doctor Who, and they all had serious reservations about becoming a gun for hire deadlines say, the producers said they worried about not owning the rights to a series that would likely become a significant drain on resources and creative energy. They also harboured concerns about funding for Doctor Who after the Disney deal. Again, that was such a high-profile thing, and the BBC trumpeted about that everywhere. While some expressed more fundamental fears simply about, and this is kind of what you said at the top of the show, Ian, some expressed more fundamental fears about simply whether the Time Lord remains relevant to the young audiences. So does any of that strike a note with you, Ian? I mean, drain on resources.
It does, but the look, as a producer, you won't touch this with a barge pole. You really wouldn't. And plus, they actually mentioned that if you don't own the IP, what does it profit you to be part of that show if you don't own the IP? The BBC owns the IP. I think the only way to go with Doctor Who now is for the BBC to find the money themselves and not, as I say, go on Tinder, not find any other producer, but find some in-house people, go back to a budget that's workable, and not find a co-producer and make it themselves. The reason why they should make it themselves is because if you are clever, you know that this is a cash cow for the BBC. You know, if you make it right, you know it's going to spawn toys. It's gonna spawn books. It's gonna spawn this. It's gonna spawn that. So it is a cash cow. But this idea of trying to find a co-producer to find money so it can help them to make the show, I think it's a dumb idea. I think if you want Doctor Who to come back, you should basically get a white straight male showrunner and a white straight male to play the main character, and get some professional script writers in, and the BBC to let them just leave them alone and let them do their thing. And I think Doctor Who will be in a good place, but they're not going to do that, are they?
Well, Ian, I think it's so bad right now that any involvement with Doctor Who at any level, I think it would be career ending, because at this point, the whole stench around this show is so toxic. I hate to use that word, but I'll use it in this case anyway.
I'll do it. If they offered me the job, I'd do it. You know what I mean? I'll give it a bash. Do you know what I mean? You know?
So Ian has decided to sacrifice his career, everybody. I think that the point I'm saying is, no matter what you do with this show going forward, for a very long time, if ever, it's not going to go anywhere. You could create the best run in the show's history, which I don't see that happening now. The best run in the show's history was in the 70s, and I don't see that ever being surpassed. But you could, by some miracle, make the best season of the show ever. It's not going to go anywhere. Nobody has any interest in watching it. People are just the entire atmosphere around this show is so poisoned.
No, I disagree.
How you would get it to reach children, that younger audience.
No, I disagree. I think the audience. Sorry, Dan. The audience is us. The audience is 40 to 60, right? That's the audience. You got to basically make the show for them now. It's not for kids anymore. And also, when you make the show, you got to make the show grow up as well. None of this stupid, dumb logic that's in the show. You got to treat it with respect. You've got to basically honor what's gone in the past. Yeah. Get rid of the Jodie and the Ncuti Gatwick Doctor and start from Bacaldi and correct it and make sure that it's good. And I think if they did that, I think it'll stand a good chance of actually winning back the fans. In other words, let me just finish, right? In other words, don't make a show that an episode that costs 10 million. Just do it for less.
I agree there. Well, I think the target audience has to be normies, right?
That's what I said.
I think the problem here.
You said 40-year-olds. No,
for 40 to 60
I want to stick with what Deadline have said, who they've spoken to here, because this is quite unique. One top producer exclaimed, "You would have to be mad to take on the show." Exactly. It's a bit of a nightmare for any producer in this market, with the shadow of the Disney fallout. So again, lines up with what the other said, was the verdict of another highly regarded producer. And this person added, it's hard to see another major US studio replacing Disney. So the budget would be hard to get above the $3 million per episode mark, which works out at $4 million. Wow. Without significant co-production or insane investment from the distribution arm, which is BBC Studios, which they would struggle to recoup on sales because obviously so many markets, Gary, have closed down for it now. They've been driven away by, kind of just as Chris was saying, a succession of stupid creative decisions that were the exact opposite of the things that the target audience was responding to.
And even if you look, just really quickly, even if you look, the proof of this comment on a film angle, and it of course would apply to television, is right now we are in the midst of a lot of high profile, very, very costly genre films dying on the vine, even in week one, and now going to struggle to make it up. Now, I know that, you know, whether it's the Grogu thing, the Masters of the Universe thing, the Disclosure Day, whatever, all these hugely costly, and that's going to put the fear of God into any production company as to the worth.
It doesn't have to cost that much, though.
No, I know, but I mean, the fact that what I mean to say in all that is that value for money is going to be like at the top of their mind. And I think at the moment they might be scared to put any money.
Yeah, I understand.
You know?
Okay, I understand producers of that level will be scared, right? But I think so they're only talking to producers of that level. They think that they can only make the show come back with the producers of that level and Warner Brothers and this and that, the other. It's crap. When Doctor Who started, they had 2 pence to make a show. Do you know what I mean? Right. And now the technology is even better today. You can make a show that looks great with very little money, episodes I'm talking about. So there's no excuse. I actually do believe you can bring it back. Whether it's going to be a success or not is another matter. But I do believe you can bring it back properly. So that's just my view.
Doctor Who in the Mid-Journey, you know? A friend of the show, Doctor Who in the Mid-Journey, is over on X talking up now how AI has arrived.
Exactly.
You can't get the toothpaste back in the tube. This makes things considerably cheaper, more feasible as regards the production schedule, which would perhaps push some of those issues aside with the show. We do have a comment from another insider as well as part of this Deadline article who said, if you look at the longevity of Marvel, Star Wars, and Star Trek, these are valuable commodities over generations, he said. The BBC is lucky to have one of those, and this should be seen as more of a bump in the road if they approach it properly, if they take the right lessons from the failure, I think what he's saying, then it needn't necessarily be the end. It can be something that they learn from, and don't make those same mistakes again, I suppose, is kind of what's suggested.
It's all about imagination. It's all about how to do something with very little money. Look at Obsession. I mean, how much was that made for? And it beat Star Wars in the box office. Now, the mistake they're making is they're going to the barrel. What's that line in Untouchables? Don't go to the barrel, go to the tree. Do you know what I mean? Go to the people that actually can make shows with very little money and has imagination. You just need to find them. If you keep going to the top, you're just going to end up with what we've had now. Do you know what I mean? With money chucked at it and nobody knows what they're doing, right? So go to someone that actually knows what they're doing and try. Try, because I want Doctor Who to come back. I want people to try. I don't care who it is, just try.
Charlotte?
Sorry.
I think I said the problem is a budget, because that's usually the big issue that we talk about in the fandom. We have for years about this show, and it's the problem is a budget works when it's manageable, when it's reasonable and sensible, and that means if you've got an episode that you need to spend your money on, you spend it on that money. If you've got an episode which would suit having one little set, having claustrophobic, having a small cast. It's a real balancing act, and that's what Classic
it can be done.
was really good at times. It knew, for example, in season 1, I think it was, or when they had the chase, that was going to be this big sprawling Dalek epic, that they needed sets for that. So for other episodes and other stories, they on purpose went small. It's all about balance.
Yeah, it's
that's something that's something they did there's something they did on Star Trek, right? The OG version and the Next Generation version. Even though Next Generation had a lot of money, they knew that they couldn't have spectacular ones, so they balanced it out. They wrote little stories, big stories, and then the climax. Do you know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. Nobody can tell me that can't be done. I come from the world of low budget, and I know the technology you've got now. You could bring any doctor back now through AI, and the rabbi knows this. He knows this, right?
There's a new guy doing it. You've got to check out the channel called What If We Ran It. He's doing a David Tennant doctor. His stuff is incredible. It's breathtaking. That's what I'm saying. Right?
So,
and there's
so
another Star Wars one called Beggar's Canyon. You can't tell it's
I've seen that one. Yeah, it's great. But right. What they shouldn't do is create a whole episode in AI. Now, the way to use AI, if you guys didn't know, is to shoot stuff, and then the AI will you add the effects via AI. If you just hire people that can prompt, right, and combine real stuff with AI, that's where everything is going. And again, the BBC is so slow when it comes to things like this. They were slow with Doctor Who. They thought that they can keep going with Doctor Who with 5 pence an episode, whatever, until McGann's version came along and showed you what you can do with some money, and then it just took off from there. They're always slow in catching up. They need to.
But the financial.
I really do. I waste my time.
I agree. No, I agree with everything Ian said about, because all we need to do is look at the classic series to show us that quality science fiction can be done. And imaginative science fiction can be done on a budget, even today. I totally agree with him. But as I said on the Thursday show, I don't even think that's the biggest hurdle. I actually think that right at the moment, and this may take a while to play out, I actually think that right now, the biggest hurdle for the show is not a budget, because that's basically you just get people sitting down at a table and agreeing as what the amortizing the budget over the course of a season. That's all that takes. I actually think, as I said on Thursday, that the biggest hurdle for the show right now is audience apathy. I'm talking general audience apathy, because as I said on Thursday, I think the BBC execs in that statement we read and parsed out, they can commit to the global brand all day, all they want. But at this point in time, right today, there's still no way to know the extent to which RTD and Bad Wolf have damaged the franchise. We can't quantify that yet.
Even in Britain, there's a noticeable percentage of the population and of the target audience, the mainstream audience of families, who think that Doctor Who ended years ago.
That's
real.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah.
Despite Rabbi, all of these lavish posters and the Disney deal and all the things that we talk about, this is shocking, but I do see enough to know that it's a thing. There's a lot of people who thought that it wrapped up.
You know what the difference is? It's that you just got to make it so it's good, that people like it. If you make it good, like I'm saying, say 5 years from now, they come back, like 2031, right, is when they finally get Doctor Who back. I think they can get a normal audience by that point who have like shaken this off, right? I think they can build like genuine excitement for it by then.
I think it'll take longer than that. But I think you're right, Dan, the brand damage. I think you're right. I don't think anybody can tell how bad the brand damage actually is right now, other than it's catastrophic. But how catastrophic is it? But here's the other thing, because Ian is right. The target audience for this show is over 40. Anybody who really grew up with the show is in their late 40s to 50s at the youngest at this point. But the problem is, the previous two regimes have been hell-bent on chasing away and alienating that audience. They held that, like, their true audience in contempt. And I think even from a normie perspective,
beyond contempt, it was awful. Yeah, it was insane.
Well, and from a normie perspective, somebody who just watches the show or just watched the show but doesn't really follow all the goings on, I think you're going to have a hard time winning those back, because the true diehard Whovians, even before this, we were not a large group. Like out of the large fan base as compared to Star Trek or Star Wars, we were by far the smallest. And a lot of us, I would say, including myself, are never coming back. And I'm actually kind of, I just have Twitter up here, or X up here on one of my monitors. And actually now I feel depressed because the first, I honestly, this is kind of what we've lost. Because a picture came up from 2005. It was the original publicity image of Christopher Eccleston and Billy Piper.
Oh, I love that one.
From before the show came out.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking back to 2005 before the show had premiered. I actually had this image as my desktop on my old 4x3 monitor. And when I look at this, I can remember the excitement when it was coming back, or the first time I saw the preview or the trailer for the season.
Trailer. Oh my God.
I saw it in the theater. I used to play it over and over again. But no, I have the image pulled up on my my screen. Yeah. And even when I look at this, I'm like, I remember the excitement, and I think of how far we've come. Now, 21 years is a very long time, but still, how far a lot of shows go on for a long period of time. None of them become as hated, go from being as loved to as hated as where we are right now. And I'm looking at this, I'm like, I'm just depressed. It just reminds me of 2005.
I think, Chris, the key, if you're going to bring it back, is to advertise and get the showrunner, whoever that may be, and the people that they've cast to go on the Comic Cons before the show starts, a whole 2 years before the show actually hits the air, to drum up excitement. But also, the most important thing of all is to cast a white male as the Doctor, and someone that can bring back the audience. That is one of the key things.
I agree with you on one of those things. I'm just not like set on the white male.
Right?
I don't think you can bring it back.
Nope, I am.
Definitely.
Sorry, Rabbi.
Definitely.
I think at this point, like
they
tried casting different demographics, and it failed.
Like my own sensibility.
Rabbi, that casting alone would tell people that they're actually intent on bringing the show back.
And there is the key. There's the key right there, right? Once you tell the audience, and once it goes on the internet and people know it, we've cast someone and it's a white male, you'll see people come back. That is the key. That's the key.
They need? They need most fundamentally, they need a very clear creative vision.
Message.
Rabbi, I thought you were going to say they need a hot companion.
Actually, I was going to say that. And no, honestly, I think that is an important part, because they saw this in 2005. And again, I think other people were running this, and Russell was just the figurehead, because they saw this in 2005, where, they cast your traditional white British male, Northern, but British Christopher Eccleston. But they also knew they had to say what?
They count.
Northerners, we count.
You can't. Everybody counts. It's the north. I live in the north of Canada, and it's very cold and miserable here. Well, northern Ontario, it sucks. But no, I don't think this was Russell. I think this was many other people were in charge. They knew in 2005 where they had to cast somebody who was competent as the Doctor, and they had to cast a bombshell as the companion. And they did give the companion more voice than the classic series did, although Ace actually they were already going in that direction with Ace anyway when the show got cut off.
Yeah.
It's amazing how a survival goes really seamlessly into Rose.
It's
really thematically they're very similar.
Yeah, and that it's in some ways it picks up, but they understood for some reason, the same people that destroyed the show 2 decades later understood what they were, at least seemed to understand what they were doing in 2005. No, I for one, I don't ever see myself supporting the show again, but I don't say that I'm the ultimate authority on that. I don't see it ever coming back myself. That's my own view. I know other people have different views.
Back.
Millie Gibson Mel Gibson and Varda Sato were the two hottest companions that had. I mean, if we look
Oh
at
my
just
God! Yes, they were
the two hottest companions that they had in years, possibly since Jenna
They were
Coleman.
wasted though, weren't they?
You know what? I actually ended up fancying Varada Sato more than Mel Gibson, and I didn't think that was humanly possible.
It doesn't matter, right, what you do with Doctor Who, right? Like, even if I became showrunner and I did Doctor Who the way I wanted to do it, not everyone's gonna like it, but I can guarantee you one thing: if I was doing it, that the shows and the episodes will be entertaining. Entertaining, that's the key, right? And it will be a white male that is the Doctor, back as Doctor. Everybody else could be any color, right? But the Doctor needs to be the Doctor.
I agree.
I'm going to disprove you. I have 5 words that will guarantee 30 million.
You're going to be rude, are you?
I don't know.
Remember Charlotte's here, Rabbi.
That will
be exactly.
A 30 million UK viewership. What are those 5 words? Bonnie Blue is the Doctor.
Brilliant.
One last round of comments I want to look at here, because we've got some really interesting takes here, Charlotte, from people who've chimed in, including lots of new faces, new voices, new names, I should say. The Darren Zone, for example, one of our oldest friends. Doctor Who's future is with the fans. We are the ones who, with the ever-improving and accessible technical resources, can make our own Doctor Who. Thank you, Darren, and say hello to the Mrs. Forrest by all means. And Matthew Pounder says, don't try and be all things to all people. That's what's wrong with entertainment today. I think you're right.
Very good.
Find a lane and stick to it, and mine it for story and character and pathos, and then reinvent and do it again. And we've got AW94 who says, yeah, but you're talking about making the show now the same as it was in 1963. It doesn't work like that anymore, and fuck AI. I don't think anybody suggested to make the show.
Rabbi is.
When they say fuck AI, right? I don't think you're dealing with a purple-haired weirdo.
I don't think anybody is suggesting we make the show like we did in '63. No. But I think what we are pointing to is just to get out of your own way. That sometimes reinventing the wheel is a fool's errand, and it's the compromise to bust, to overburden those foundations. It is silliness when there's so much in that formula, in that concept that you can do with it. You don't need gimmicks. That's kind of what we're pointing to, rather than wanting to dial the clock back decades, even 20 years.
Also, can I say, right, that I would, if I was in charge, I wouldn't use AI to the extent that a lot of people are using AI. I would just use it minimally. If it's important, you can't afford something, you just use bits. Because at the end of the day, AI is an effects. It's an effect. Program. Do you know what I mean?
Essentially, you're just paying for the actors, really. That's your major expense.
A big director made that distinction quite recently. Was it Christopher Nolan or Denis Villeneuve? Somebody like that made that distinction.
Yeah, one of them. Yeah.
And they were absolutely right.
No, Scorsese.
No, it wasn't. It was a younger one. It was a much younger director who said that they consider it to be just the latest effects package.
It is.
It was the Lord of the Rings guy.
Oh, Jackson.
Peter Jackson.
Yes, it was. We do have another comment from AW who says fans complain about AI with the Blu-rays, then champion it to be used to make who pot.
It's not the same.
I don't like it.
That's not the same.
Just because we're mentioning, anytime anybody mentions AI in anything but a condemning way, then there's a lot of people feel this way, instantly see red without actually listening to what you're saying. There's a massive difference between those two options that you're mentioning, AW. You want to explain, Gary?
No, can I just say something? Right, so I'll tell you the difference between AI and the old days. Like, so say for instance you're shooting a scene and you wanted to extend the set, but you don't have enough money to extend the set. They used to hire someone, a painter, to get a big glass sheet and paint on the glass, right? The difference between then and now is that you can tell AI to finish off the set, and it will do it in a split second. And that's the difference. That saves money as well, instead of paying a paint. So if you're talking about cutting the budget to make an episode, that is the logical way to go because of technology.
So
that's all I'm saying.
Ian, are you doing this? Are you using this?
I did it on Rebecca Gold. So I did it on Rebecca Gold. So
I'm going to provide a different perspective here. So we're talking about, investing millions of dollars or using AI to make the show. You don't need a ton of money to make the show, to make a decent show. I'm going to provide two examples. The one is going to be more recent. The Stephen Moffat era, and I'm thinking specifically the Matt Smith era, which was the best the show ever looked or sounded before or since, compared to everything that came before or after. Those 3 seasons are in a different league. That was made on a BBC budget. The original series was always made on a shoestring budget. That got worse as the years went on, where it's like it was being made with like 25 cents or 25 shillings by the time Sylvester McCoy ended. We did not like classic Who, and we don't still like it now because they were dumping millions of dollars into it. We were perfectly fine with the sets. To this day, I'm perfectly fine with the sets. The difference was in the storytelling. You had competent people. Generally, there was some varying quality because it was 26 years, but you had very little money, but you had very creative and imaginative people behind it. The Stephen Moffat era, and it did fall apart during Capaldi, so I'm not going to mention that, but during the Matt Smith era, it was not much more than what they had during the David Tennant era, which I think actually looks significantly cheaper and has aged terribly compared to the Stephen Moffat era. I think those episodes that were filmed aired between 2010 and 2013 to this day, a decade and a half later, still look and sound spectacular. You don't need a lot of money to make a good show. The thing that this does not need is millions, $30 million per episode being injected into it.
Yeah, I think it was 10, wasn't it? 10 million per episode for the new one.
It was ridiculous. So. I don't know where that went because that did not show up on screen. There needs to be some investigating done there, but that's a whole other story. You do not need millions of dollars. The general audience, like the impact of CG, it doesn't impress people anymore. It impressed people back in 1999 when we saw it in The Phantom Menace, or 1996 when we saw, or 1991 in Terminator 2. This doesn't impress us anymore. And I think if you're going to base it on using AI, and everybody knows my thoughts on AI, spoilers, I am not a fan. I would not, although I can see with, when Ian when you're.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just saying, Ian, when you were making your show, I'm like, and I've seen the movie, you had a very strong script. You had strong actors. It wasn't based off by you used it just to accentuate it.
Yes. So that's what these shows should be doing now. And look, no matter what I say, they're going to do it anyway. We're not only if Doctor Who comes back, but they're going to be doing it in American shows. They're going to be doing BBC is already using it, but they're lying. They're saying they're not using it. They're using it for all kinds of stuff like Between the Lines. If the new episode of Between the Lines, they're extending sets, they're changing the clouds in the sky. All of that can be done easily now, very easily now. So that's what I'm saying. I think if they bring Doctor Who back, it's not going to cost them as much as they think. If they are clever, if they're clever enough to.
Well, no, it's not clever if they're not like too subservient to their woke ideology.
Yes.
Okay, to prove your point, I'm just putting a YouTube channel into the chat called What If We Ran It? At What If We Ran It? This is the guy making full AI Doctor Who, which again I prefer his method because I like a human performance. I think
human performance
because it emotes to you, right? And it's like AI is good, but it's not. It's like, but so I prefer that. However, this is, he's put out a preview, and I just saw he put something else out a few hours ago. I recommend everybody go check it out. It is absolutely fabulous stuff. This is the future of Doctor Who, right? Because if this guy can do it, more guys are going to do it, and the technology is going to get it.
If Gary was in charge of Doctor Who, and if Charlotte was in charge of Doctor Who, and if the Rabbi was in charge of Doctor Who, everything could be different, right? And you'll guarantee that people will say, I don't like Rabbi's version. It's so shit and all that. Do you know what I mean? You're never going to please everyone. You're never going to please everyone. That's the point I'm trying to make. All you can do is try your best and try and make it as good as you can. Not put politics into it and all that rubbish. That's why they failed.
Yeah, I think the top and tail of it is how whenever it comes back, whatever time that is, whoever's the production house, whoever's the showrunner, That's stuff that I think we're a long way off knowing. I think if we just boil it down to, we just want somebody who's got a real creative vision, who's got a spark for this show again, who doesn't just do it because they think it can be used for this platform or for this message. No, they've legitimately got a creative spark. They've got something, that a story they want to tell with the Doctor, with this universe, with a TARDIS. That's what we've been missing.
Well, Grant Morrison has a whole season planned, apparently.
Here's the thing, though, Charlotte. I don't know if you'll agree with me. It seems to me that if they make the attempt to bring it back, they have one chance, because basically there are two massive strikes, consecutive strikes against the show now: the Jodie Whittaker era and the Ncuti Gatwa era. That's two strikes.
Three.
But you see what I mean? If they cannot, they better get this precisely right, because if they have three train wreck eras or attempts in a row,
that's a disaster.
That's it. That's it.
It's like James Bond. You can't have two bad James Bond movies in a row, right? That's why this next one's so important. You can't have two bad, because it just won't come back after.
I would also argue that the three strikes are already against them, because it's not two errors, it's actually three, because you also have the return of David Tennant in there, and I still view that as having had been their one chance to save this. And I had said this for years, and even though I withdraw everything I said in a video I put up in 2018, I have left it up because I'm not going to pretend I didn't say these things. But in 2018, at the end of Whittaker's first season, I had my prescription for saving Doctor Who, and I am eating my words. But again, I don't suddenly disavow things I say. I said it. Bring back Russell T Davies and David Tennant. We saw how that happened, but no, I think that was their one shot.
I guess, Chris, the reason that and you're right, but I guess the reason I kind of mentally disregard that was because that was really only around. That was really only around for a couple of weeks. The special, like time wise, from the first special to the third was like 2 weeks. So I get what you're saying, and I'm not disagreeing with it, but I think that's why I just kind of mentally disregard that.
I think, though, even though it was, and yes, it was the smallest, but I think out of these three strikes, that was the biggest, because the other two, they invented something new and terrible. But for David Tennant, they brought back what was, it no longer is, but at the time, viewed as, it was the most loved era in the history of Doctor Who. And I thought it was going to go bad. I didn't think it was going to go that. I don't think anybody expected that to go.
Also, no one saw that coming. Although Ian did.
Also, right, you've got to have clever writing in it, because clever writing these days, especially in today's multicultural internet thing, right? You can bring people. I give you an example, right? I was watching YouTube Shorts, and I came across a clip from Ted Lasso, and I don't know if you guys have seen Ted Lasso. It's a scene where he's somebody challenges him to play darts. Anybody seen that clip? And he does something really clever. And when I saw that clip, I was like, "What is this show?" And it's like Ted Lasso. And then I started watching it. So in other words, if you're going to write, if that was clever writing, that made me want to watch the show. So that's what I'm saying. So with Doctor Who, the writing needs to be fucking good for people to come back. And it wasn't in the last two, was it? It wasn't. So that's one of the things that needs to be done. You need to get proper writers in.
I need to bring out something very important. My cracker cream meter, right?
Oh.
It's flashing at me.
Yeah, we are.
Getting a little creamed.
We are.
I think you need to explain to Charlotte what that is.
Oh yeah, sorry. You're a northern lass. I'm cream crackered, darling. That's what I'm saying.
He's tired. He's always tired, though.
He's knackered.
I'm knackered. Yes, exactly. See, That's the north
we are
south
wrapping.
divide
We
right
are
there.
wrapping up. We are wrapping up anyway. But AW says AW feels that you're always taking away someone's job. You know, Ian talked about the guy who used to paint the extra bit of the set.
Yeah,
In my view, you're not taking the guy who used to paint the end of the set like that. You teach him how to prompt. You don't. It's the same guy.
Yeah.
So no, not necessarily. I think that's woolly thinking. Zach Whitten says, I don't think we should be talking about whether Millie or Varada were hot. We should be focusing on their acting. We've talked about their acting a lot. But
Yeah,
they
but
have to be hot.
let's face it. Nobody will care about
have to be
acting if they weren't
effective.
that hot. Let's be fair.
The Doctor
They
too,
were
to,
hot.
to some degree, they have to be engaging people that people want to see, and men are not women, and women are not men, and so the reason why we gravitate towards one depends on our own gender, the gender of the people that are on screen. So hotness absolutely does matter. Of course it does.
As long as they're not from the 21st century, I'm happy.
Yep.
Rick Storm says to AW's point earlier on, there's a huge difference in making a new show with AI, making a new show with new technology, than butchering old episodes and banging them out on Blu-ray with some cheap AI package. Totally different, beautifully summed up there from Rick Storm. We've got, what else have we got? So much. I can't believe the engagement here. Thank you very much. Mr. Matt says, my dad used to build penny farthings. He's not out of work. He just got another job. Beautifully summarized there. This has been a continuing conversation, our response to this update on the future of Doctor Who the BBC put out a few days ago. What an announcement, so much in there, considering it's 3 or 4 paragraphs. Obviously, there's still a lot to unpack with this because there's a great deal that we don't know. There's something, I always say, they're showing us what the right hand is doing because they don't want us to look at the left hand. And believe me, if you want to find out before anywhere and anyone else, this is the platform, this is the channel, Type 40 is the place, the podcast, the live stream, both, and here on Type 40 Extra. This is the place to come because I can guarantee you I'm going to get that story. I'm going to find out exactly what's going on. And if you're here, you'll be the first to know. We've got an impeccable track record here on Type 40. Just in case you hadn't noticed, I will get that story. Type 40 Live, YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and X. If you want more of that rolling news coverage, as well as big news reports too, there's celebrations about all manners of Doctor Who legends, the actors, the producers, the writers, the seasons, you name it. It's all there on Type 40 Live. Go and check out the playlists of earlier shows. And if you want our show from the other night, Type 40 Live, cancelled. Failure, Russell T Davies flees in shame. And New Who ends in ridicule. This was our nearly 3-hour conversation from the other night where we went through the press release and what Russell had said, and there was jokes. I included jokes in there too, so it wasn't as glum as you would think. There was lots of fun to be had there on Type 40 Live. For that, go and check it out. Thank you to everybody who's dropped a comment so far. And the initial report that kicked all of this off, that was picked up by the mainstream media, by The Sun and multiple other outlets, that's still up here on the channel. Our report on the crisis that was affecting the Christmas special. Who was in, who was out? You heard it here first on Type 40 Live. Go and catch up with it. And it's even now, it's still kind of evergreen. It still matters. It still counts. And there'll be more to come at some point in the future there. It's all in the playlists. Go and dig in. There's the Type 40 podcast as well, of course. All major podcatchers, you name it, we're on it. And there's our home feed at type40.podbean.com. If you've enjoyed this dynamic, this cluster of ne'er-do-wells, and I'm including Charlotte in that, if you enjoyed all of this, then you can get more of it and us together on physical media nights on our sister channel, the Spacebook, where the Spacebook is live. We talk about physical media, we talk about Star Trek, we talk about whatever we want to talk about, and you can find all of that over there on the Spacebook. If you're a fan of that, there's no need to be downhearted and there's no need to be angry when you're talking about things that you enjoy.
It's true.
Right, guys? Right, guys? Right, guys?
Yep.
Right,
Very true.
They don't look any happier in this 4. I think we've done our best, but they don't seem that thrilled.
I do like that era, though. I've got to admit. So they're my
Aw.
favorites, all of them.
I'll take
Alrighty,
3
so-
out of the 4 of them. I'll let you guess which one I have.
We know.
And yes, for
I love them all.
and just to push off what Dan was saying, yes, physical media nights, which I believe we're also going to be covering Star Trek. But yes, this is a one-off for me. I don't do Doctor Who live streams, but I decided to do it this week.
Yes.
But yes, 4 of us with a string of guests do physical media live. So if you want to hear me rant, I've been, for how long? Like 4 years now. We've been streaming together on Saturdays.
It's
Dan,
been
I
a
think
4-year rant.
Yeah.
Fits and starts.
Yeah, it's we started this sort of 4 years ago, but I'm there every week. Usually I end up yelling about something, but other things to look forward to. Every week we do a PSA from Canada.
They're horrifying.
And
They're
just as a
most horrifying
spoiler
thing
for next week, somebody's eyeball is going to be in danger. So you'll want to see what's happening here. You will cringe and you will cry.
That's the worst.
We also get weekly updates on Professor Dinkle's cousin Frank, who lately is running away from Satan, and he's disguising himself as a farmer. But the farm animals are very angry with Frank, and the pigs have declared war on him. So we'll be getting an update on that next week. So it'll be a fun time. But yes, physical media nights, that is our thing. So I do that. But yes, chances of me doing another Doctor Who stream, I just don't do them anymore.
What was it Sean Connery said? Never say never. No, never say never.
That was his wife, wasn't it? He made that title up.
Yeah. Thank you, Chris. Now,
That's right.
before we shoot, let's do the details. Chris, you do have a video coming, don't you? A Doctor Who video that's on the starting grid. If people want to see that, where can they find it? When's it going to drop? When's your estimated time of arrival?
Well, there may actually be 2. So my video about the cancellation, I'm about halfway through my script. I'm aiming to have that done sometime tomorrow. I may actually do a second video covering that deadline article, which is going to be fun. And then I will go back to non-Doctor Who stuff. If you aren't aware, I have recently decided to declare war on Millie Alcock. So as soon as I'm done with this, we're going to go back to that war. And I know Dan and I see this differently, but I have declared war on Millie and Supergirl. And I'm going to go. I have been going woke Batman on that shit. So, and for those of you who don't know, I did cover the entirety of season 1 of Starfleet Academy on my channel. Spoilers, I did not like it. So if you want to relive those, go to my channel. So Bulls Trek, the same channel I've been doing forever. I'm sort of back to doing semi-regular videos because everything is still crap and it's very cathartic. So join me as we bury Millie and Supergirl over the next few weeks after saying very stupid things. Her, not me. And that's it. So, yeah, fun times.
Can I just say, I'm actually really looking forward to that movie.
I am looking forward to watching it crash, burn, and die.
Everything's crashing and burning. Nothing's succeeding.
Rabbi Millie made me mad, and
honestly, I think the comments have been taken out of context.
No, they haven't. No, well, that's a discussion for another time. But
we'll talk about it next week. Bring up. We'll talk about it next week.
Rabbi, they're stupid. And then they're saying those things when your multi-million-dollar movie has to make money, and you alienate half your audience.
Christian Dad was taken wildly out of context.
Well, she said stupid things before that.
Stupid
things.
Stupid things. Like a fun movie. She was good in House of the Dragon. I don't give a shit. I like when Kevin Spacey was supposed to be a pedophile or something.
Rabbi, stupidity irks me. And what kind of idiot comes out and says that in this climate when your movie has to actually make money? But I don't.
Charlotte, these are coming attractions of what the next few weeks will be like.
Basically. So in case you all are wondering. So this is what we do every Saturday. And usually I end up ranting for a few minutes, but it usually ends up to at least a few minutes of Rabbi and each other yelling at us at the same time with everybody else cracking up and Dan's head out.
Listen, all I'm saying is I'm happy watching something on a file. Right? That's all I'm saying. That's like, I don't mind.
I am looking forward. watching it crash and burn. But see, here's the thing we do at the Space Book. We are not an echo chamber. We all have different opinions.
Yes,
and some people are excited for Supergirl, and some of us want to see it burn in hell. So, you get both perspectives on the Space Book.
Variety is the spice of life.
Yeah.
Thank you again, Chris. I'm looking forward to that. Of course, I am. Rabbi, your turn to plug. What are you doing? When are you doing it? And where can people
I'm
find
on tomorrow night. The night for me. I'm on at 5 o'clock UK time. We will be talking about this. I would have thought. What?
That's 5.
5 live at 5, baby. Live at 5. Apart from Thursday, we're on 4 o'clock now because there's a thing at my synagogue I like to go to. But anyway, so I can't, stream that late for me. Anyway. Tomorrow's thumbnail, which is already done, is Rusty Davis and Jodie Whittaker in the TARDIS together, and Russell saying, "I failed in everything," and Jodie Whittaker says, "You managed to make something worse than what we did, and everybody thought that was impossible." So that's a success.
That's right.
I saw her in a movie. Jodie's in a movie. It's on Netflix with J-Lo. It's called Office Romance.
2 weeks is not
that new J-Lo one. I haven't.
Yeah, she's in it. She's in it.
Okay.
She plays.
Wow.
She plays the sister. She plays the sister of the guy, and she's in jail. And she's got dark hair. And she's put on this London accent in the film.
Okay.
Oh, I have seen the poster for that. And do you know who else is in it? So, as if Jodie Whittaker wasn't bad enough, do you know who else is in it? Tilly from Star Trek Discovery.
Oh, of course. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
No.
So if you all want to experience literal hell, go see that movie.
We got to review it.
Join us next Saturday. We'll be reviewing that movie.
Honestly, if you want to do it, I will watch it, and we will do this next Saturday because we need a palate cleanser.
It was shot in the UK, by the way. It was shot in the UK, by the way.
Looks great for how old is she? 68, something like that. She looks sensational.
She looks great.
Good.
Mary Wiseman, my God, Ian. Thank you. It's great to have you back, mate. I knew you'd enjoy this.
That's
one.
all right.
Is she still fat, by the way?
Mary, no, she's done the old Ozempic.
She's
done the old.
But she was kind of hot in that first season.
Yeah, she's all right.
Well, it's all that music therapy, Rabbi.
Okay.
From Starfleet Academy.
I don't remember. God,
it's good to have you. It's good to have you back, Ian.
Therapy. It was acting therapy.
No worries.
Acting therapy. That's right.
Charlotte, regretting spending your Saturday night listening.
Sorry, Charlotte.
I sort of gate crashed this tonight, so
I love having
No,
you
we were lucky. We're so glad to have you.
Yeah, honestly, it was nice to see you again, Charlotte. And I tried to keep the potty mouth to a certain level this week.
You all did very well. You all did very well, actually. I will say that now because we're wrapping up.
Okay.
If you want more of Charlotte on Saturdays, put a note in the chat.
Charlotte, if you want to guest one of these Saturdays, I promise I will tone down the potty mouth, and Rabbi will be banned about talking, well, pretty much anything he normally talks about.
I think we've done quite well today. The stream is still up at any rate. Thank you, Charlotte. I'm glad you could make. I'm glad you wanted to do this. It's been great. And Gary, you too. Batman is the theme of the cap this evening. But what are you watching lately? You know, how have you consoled yourself with Doctor Who's?
Oh boy, I actually am watching some of Batman, and I'm watching various like non-Who related stuff. I watched, as we talked about, Spider Noir. I'm watching. I'm about to start The Burrows.
That's what I'm watching.
Oh, there you go, season 9.
Yeah.
Very good.
I'm halfway through it. So
excellent.
That's exactly what I'm watching. So
excellent with the
greatest doctor that ever lived.
With the real Sea Devils, not the Homo Aqua.
Absolutely. I like the new effects in this as well.
Wait, I didn't watch that. Did they turn the Sea Devils gay? I'm guessing they turned the Sea Devils gay.
I don't
Only
think
in the AI version.
No, they weren't really gay in that, were they, Charlotte?
By the way, the season 21 box set with the Warriors of the Deep, they're their upgrade of that is fabulous.
Yes,
They're
really
using
fabulous.
they're using a new VFX package called GAI to do that on subsequent box sets.
I see what you did there.
Just a joke. I'm sorry.
Oh, I think
When
that's a
I
sign.
buy
That joke
these-
is a sign my brains have been drained after all. Ian, go on, carry on.
Yes.
No, I was just saying, when I buy these, I'm not interested in behind the couch and all those things they put in there, because
Oh, I
I
love
just think, no, I'm not interested in any of that stuff. I don't even watch it, to tell you the truth. I just
do
think
I.
they're really embarrassing. It's like somebody mentioned, I think it was on Type 40, they said they really liked, those little episodes when Jodie was the doctor, the little spin-off episodes. No, I think it was before a shooty. The little spin-off episodes where they're
Tales
in
from the TARDIS.
No,
Yeah,
I like
Tales
them.
from the
No, they would. I
I
like
hated
them.
it
You're
all.
not gonna have a go.
I hated. I'm just saying I hated it all. I just thought, why do this? You know what I mean? It's just I hate all that stuff. I hate Big Finish, all that stuff.
He hates
interested in-
he hates because he loves.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway,
thank you, everybody, gentlemen and lady. I've enjoyed this. It's been cathartic. It's certainly got through a lot of comments, so I feel better that we've talked a lot more back to the punters, to you out there. So thank you for joining us. There's more coming up in a couple of days when Type 40 Live returns, because the story is already moving on. The greatest way to kick off your week in geek, and we'll be catching up with more of the shit that who has said, as well as more jokes, more nostalgia, the usual mix. So we'll see you there. Well, that'll be here, but you get the general idea. You must know what I mean by now. For the rest of it, though, have a great weekend. Enjoy yourselves. I do hope you're not feeling it too deeply. I'm sure that things will come out in the wash eventually. And there must be more to life than Doctor Who. I don't know. Is there? I don't know.
is.
Let us know in the comments, and we'll
There's
see you on the
J-Lo.
next show. Have a great time. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye-bye.
Ta-da.